Okay, hello. My name is, for those who weren't here this morning, my name is Luke Williams. I'm the Executive Director of the Berkley Entrepreneurship Center for Innovation here at NYU Stern. And I'm thrilled to have you in today for the Entrepreneurs Challenge Final. So this is one of the biggest accelerator programs of its kind. So teams, 500 people from 14 different schools across the New York University network entered the competition 8 months ago. And now we're in the final series. We did the tech venture competition this morning. We've just completed the social venture competition. And now this is the premier event. It's the new venture competition. So in its 14th year, it's the premier platform for identifying, nurturing and launching entrepreneurial talent at NYU. Now in this competition, over 100 teams entered this one, and we're down to 5 that remain today. So really looking forward to the pitches. The teams are competing for the $75,000 Ira Rennert Prize, named after the award's benefactor, a Stern alumnus. Now, right after the pitches, you will have an opportunity to vote for your favourites. So we'll do some audience voting because we'd like to know what you thought. Now, the announcement of that will be at 5:15, so when our awards ceremony starts. While you're doing that, the judges will convene in another room and deliberate and choose who the winner or winners will be, and those results will also be announced at 5:15, the awards ceremony. So it's my great pleasure now to introduce an esteemed panel of judges that we have here today. Starting with the namesake for the Berkley Entrepreneurship Center, William R. Berkley. Bill founded W.R. Berkley Corporation, which is a Fortune 500 property casualty insurance holding company, in 1967. He has served continuously as chairman of the board and the company's CEO. He is chairman of the board of overseers of the Stern School of Business here at New York University, and a member of the board of trustees of New York University Langone Medical Center, as well as vice chairman of the board of trustees at New York University. Great to have you with us, Bill. Brian Cohen is a serial entrepreneur, an angel investor, and mentor to many entrepreneurs here at New York University and beyond. He now serves as chairman of the New York Angels. Brian was the first investor actually in Pinterest, which came out of this competition. Legend has it that Brian ran down the front, elbowed a grandmother out of the way to get to the teams to be their first investor. And that worked out fairly well for him, but not the poor old woman. He's also the author of a recently released book, just released about a week ago, called What Every Angel Investor Wants You to Know. An insider reveals how to get smart funding for your billion-dollar idea. I actually asked Brian about the title because I thought, aren't single word titles in vogue, like Malcolm Gladwell Blink? And he said, no, nowadays they want you to understand the entire book from the front page. So you don't need to read it now. Delighted to introduce a former colleague of mine and friend, Robert Fabricant. Worked together with him at Frog Design for many years. Robert is the Vice President of Creative for all of Frog, and he's based in New York. He leads up multidisciplinary design teams for clients such as BBC, Comcast, GE, MTV, Nextel, and Nissan. He's developed user experiences for numerous digital platforms, including handheld devices, in-car information systems, medical devices, retail environments, networked applications and desktop software. Robert is an expert in design for social innovation, and he recently led a project that had a huge impact. It was called Project M, and it's an initiative that harnesses the power of mobile technology to combat the world's worst HIV and AIDS epidemic in South Africa. And then finally, the two remaining judges, I have Scott Kaufman. Great to have Scott back on the panel. Scott is the presiding director of MDC Partners, a business transformation organisation that utilises technology, marketing, communications, data analytics and strategic consulting solutions. Scott has more than 25 years of senior executive and board leadership experience with both public and private companies, and he's widely recognised expert in the fields of digital media, internet, advertising and e-commerce. And finally, Alan Patrikoff, a venture capital pioneer, founded Greycroft LLC in 2006. Greycroft is a venture capital firm focused on the digital media sector. During the past 40 plus years, Alan has participated in the financing and development of a large number of public and private companies. Companies with which he's been involved in the initial stages are Apple Computer. Is that with two P's, Alan? Apple? Yeah? Never heard of it. America Online, Cadence Systems, Office Depot, Force Systems, Cellular Communications Inc., Intralinks, Audible Inc., and the Huffington Post. So, great panel of judges, actually. I'd like to thank our judges for coming in, spending time with us today. Now, the rules are simple. There's going to be a 10-minute pitch from each of the teams, where the judges will not interrupt. It's their the team's chance to tell their story as persuasively as possible. But we've extended the Q&A, so there'll be 20 minutes of Q&A for the judges to then interact with the teams and do the grilling. And I'm first up, and I'm pleased to introduce, and a warm welcome, please, for Smart Vision Labs. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Great. Thank you. So we are Smart Vision Labs. My name is Mark Albanese, and with me today is co-founder Yaoping Zhou. Surprisingly, vision tests are not routinely provided to preschoolers and toddlers in the US today. In fact, only 14% of children under the age 6 have actually had their vision examined. In addition, over 500 million people worldwide suffer from refractive error-related vision impairment. Not surprisingly, more than 90% are in the third world. So why do over 500 million people worldwide and children in the US not get their vision tested? Well, we broke it down into two reasons. One's communication and one is cost. So first for communication. So I have two little girls. The youngest one, Juju, is roughly 2.5, 3. She's a lot of fun, but she's a maniac. She runs around, she knocks into things, she screams. She likes to take a bath and then do roar sounds to my wife after running around the house naked. What I'm trying to get is she can't communicate well. The other day we were walking down in our building and she literally ran into the side of the wall. And I wasn't sure if it's because she's a clumsy 2-year-old or maybe she has a vision problem. And with a pediatrician, there's no good way to really ascertain if there's an issue with a child's vision at this age. In addition to language, there's language. In the third world, you'll find that patients and doctors don't speak the same language. Next, we have cost. If you don't have vision insurance, vision testing is expensive. In addition, especially in the third world, the equipment is expensive and it's not portable. In order to be able to visit lots of villages, you need a more mobile solution. There's one other market failure I'd like to examine, and that's for everybody else. Vision testing is a tedious experience. This is a phoropter. If you're not familiar, literally the doctor puts it in front of you, turning the lenses while you are looking at an image and being asked the question, better, same, worse. I find the process very frustrating and being stuck between 2 or 3 settings, and I can't fine-tune which one's the best for me. In fact, the late Dr. Urban Borish, who is a pioneer in 20th century optometry, suggested that this is the test patients didn't like the most, specifically because they can't easily differentiate the endpoints. So how do we solve these market failures in vision diagnostics? Well, for communication, we must eliminate the need for the patient and the doctor to interact. For cost, we must provide a low-cost portable solution. And then lastly, tedious experience, we must create a process that's both instant and provides unambiguous results. Our solution is the Smart Aberrometer. The Smart Aberrometer attaches to the smartphone. Whoops. With a single snapshot, the Smart Aberrometer will test the eye, the reflector over the eye, and generate a prescription. It's mobile, it's low cost, and it can be used for self-examination or by care providers. And most importantly, it does not require the patient and the doctor to go through the same better, worse exercise. We believe it will dramatically improve the way people get their vision evaluated. Before I hand it over to Yaoping, there's one point I want to make is that this device is part of a new wave of mobile medical diagnostics. The Cellscope is a device to look into a child's ear from home. A LiveCore is a device, an iPhone case that can measure EKG. And the Smart Aberrometer is a device that can measure refractive errors of the eye. Now I'll hand it over to Yaoping.
Thank you, Mark. So what is the Smart Barometer? The smart barometer is using a technology called wavefront sensing developed in the 50s for astronomy. When people try to see stars far away. Today, we use the same technology, try to detect optical quality of the eye. In this particular design, we use the smartphone flashlight and a camera combined with a special device called micro lens array. So the light starts with the flashlight, and we use lens and mirror collect the flashlight and form a compact spots on the retina, as shown on the top half of this slide, which is the illumination channel. On the bottom half of the slide is the detection channel. Essentially, we have this special device called micro lens array to collect the reflected light of the retina and form an image on the camera. So what does this image look like? This special device, micro lens array, essentially is a 2D array of small lenses. Each lens forms a spot on the camera. And as you can see, you have two examples here. On the top half of this slide, if you have a perfect eye, the camera of the smartphone seeing evenly distributed 2D spots. However, if you have nearsightedness, as shown on the bottom half of this slide, your spots distorted and the spacing also changed. We have figured out algorithm to calculate the difference between those two images and convert that difference to a 3D contour shape representing the most commonly corrected refractive error, such myopia, astigmatism, and hyperopia. And with this 3D contour shape, you also convert the results to the eyeglass perception. With the smart barometer, you can use the smart barometer to test your own eye and your children's eye at the comfort of your own home. So as for our business strategy, we have a three-phase plan. The first phase is we want to introduce a smart barometer to U.S. medical community. We think this is a great tool for pediatrician. They can just use the smart barometer to click. They will test their little children's eye right there. They will tell you, you need to wear eyeglasses, and this is what kind of eyeglass you need to wear. And the second phase is our most important market, is a developing country. Here we're highlighting China. And there's thousands of elementary school and middle school in China can use a device like this. I remember years ago when I was a student in China, what we did is we're standing 10 feet away from eye chart. We just look at the letter E, which is a very crude measurement. With a smart barometer, medical professional will be able to tell much more information to their patient. The third phase of our market is the U.S. consumer market. We are planning to partner with the glasses manufacturer to deliver the service. As our model tells us, it's going to cost us about $250 to make such a device. We'll sell the device for $500 with a combined annual contract. Service contract. The service including identify the false positive data and also data storage. As for the first year, we need to sell 320 units to be break even. So status update. We have some exciting thing going on in R&D right now. We finished the prototype, which is a desktop system to prove the concept, which we just actually designed our first handheld system and start testing the eyes. We have been keeping in touch with the local optometrist and the pediatrician, try to ask them to help us to test the device. And for the legal department, we just recently filed our provisional patent. We contact FDA regarding the review process for our product. We believe our product is a Class 1 510K exempt device, which means we're going to have a much easier time to get this product on the market. So as for the marketing, we have been contacting the local pediatrician. We have contacted the sales director from Warby Parker, which is a glasses manufacturer. We think we're going to have much more to talk about in the future. And he expressed he wants to see the prototype immediately once it's available to test the eyes. And also, we have our contact established in China, who is the consultant from McKinsey. She's an expert in China healthcare industry. So as for the team, I'm Yao Ping, this is Mark, and we have known each other for over 10 years. We started out as grad students in vision research. As a matter of fact, our first project is to build a desktop barometer using lasers and scientific camera. Today, we're doing almost the same thing, except much smaller scale. And after graduating from engineering school, I started working for the medical industry. I have successfully commercialized a high-end microscope for pharmaceutical industry. Mark, on the other side, has various roles in operation, product development, and management related to optical products. After getting his MBA from Stern, he also gained extensive experience from financial analysis and startup experience. As for our board, we have Dr. Thomas Bufano from Boston University and Dr. Burns from Indiana University. Dr. Burns is one of the top scientists in the nation for vision diagnostic. We're very lucky to have both of them. This is our product, Smart Barometer. I hope you are as excited as I am. Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys. Could we have the house lights up, please? Now's your time to interact with the judges. So who would like to kick us off?
First of all, I thought I read in here that you're class 2, and now I think you said class 1 here.
Yes. Between we give you that write-up and we made this presentation, we find out actually on FDA database list a barometer is a class 1 instrument.
That's easier to get through, if I understand.
We are actually having drink to celebrate it.
The second question is, where do you stand? Is it okay if I give us a bunch of questions?
Yeah, absolutely. This is it's free-flowing discussion for 20 minutes between all of you. So.
Where are you in the design? Is it just a conceptual thing? Have you priced it out accurately? What's the status of where the device is at the moment?
So you have a device. This is our only prototype right here. I tested my own eye a couple of nights ago, which
No eye patch. Nothing.
wow. So we are right now in the phase. We're ready to go into a hospital, establish a protocol with an optometrist, start testing eyes. That's where we are now in R&D.
Have you tested it out with any children to try to read a child's eye?
I've been convinced the father here to test on his children, but I guess we want to test.
We want to test it on ourselves thoroughly and get the prescription.
So what's the hurdle? Are you doing something to the eye with this when you're reading it? Are you nervous about your own children? What is it?
It's just shining a bright source into a light. You need to have it regulate the amount of light going in.
Right.
And we just got the tabletop unit. We just got that side of it with optics embedded to actually work portably. And now we literally need to take data on ourselves. If we were just to take the data without putting it through the algorithms, we wouldn't actually get a prescription. So all we get is the wavefront sensing data, the spots, if you will. So we need to transform that. And so at this point, we're still just focused on, now we have our own eyes, let's get our own data.
So how long a process is that going to be until you're ready to actually take it around and test all the 5 of us? I mean, you did that.
It'd be pretty cool.
Yeah.
We're probably a couple months, I would say, at the most, at this point.
The next question is, I don't know why you want to have a consumer product. I mean, you say in here, consumer, I mean, it's a professional product. I don't know. I don't get it why I would want to have one of these and spend $600 or whatever the price is. I've got enough devices around the house. What do I want that for?
Right. I mean, it's as you can see, you go to doctor's office, it's a tedious experience. And also, there are people out there don't have the logistics to spend one day go to the doctor. And we think this is a device, at least for this country, is something that it's a part of the trained home diagnostic. You have a device like this, you stay at home, you can monitor your vision day and night.
And if you have a family...
I disagree with you. I think if I were you, I would not even think about the consumer product. Certainly for the first, till you get this up on a professional basis.
Oh, that's our furthest phase.
The next, I want to finish my question.
Please,
Yeah?
go right through the
This
whole
is not
buddy.
your meeting.
Go for it, buddy.
$600 a year for a service contract. Nobody's going to spend $600 a year. If it takes that much servicing, you got a problem, I think.
You'll be amazed if you talk to one of the optometrists. They will spend $1,000 just to put their
But
name
this
on the
device
internet.
is a really simple, I mean, if it takes $600 to, I mean, you could buy a new one.
Well, you have to pay. It's similar to the mobile phone market. You buy a device for a couple $100s, and then you end up paying $1,500 a year to actually use it. I mean, this is for far less. You can actually get your eye measurements.
So are you paying for the added intelligence of being on their network? And is that what you're paying for? Or are you paying for just the basic license to use the device?
Yes, added intelligence.
There's something I get
Right.
So
out of that service in terms of higher quality results. And
So I have to have the service
Exactly.
every year.
Yeah, to eliminate false positives. Like, think about Siri, right? There's certain things that are happening locally and certain things that have to happen on the network for it to give a good result, right?
right, I mean, there, like any device, there will be false positive data. You know, we don't want to give you a wrong pair of glasses. We want to prove that it's right.
Right, I would just tell you, your cash flow issue is difficult because you're going to have to produce these up front. So in terms of your capital needs, I think you're not realistic about it in here. The next thing is,
You know any venture capitalists that could get them over the hump, Alan?
no, they were not at that stage.
Not about the money.
It's not about the money, that's what we were told. It's tough, how do you compare this with, what is it, Edge, Metra, what is it, Netra?
Yeah, the MID
Yeah,
company.
why, they're $50 and you're, I mean, why?
So
50 versus 500.
they do have cost advantage over us. And however, we try to solve a problem that communication is a big hurdle here. And their device still need communication from the patient. And our device don't need that. I think this is how we win over the market.
All right, I've only got 12 questions. Let's talk about the marketplace. Now, you're a concept product at this point, right? Have you shared any of the data with the industry? Have you written any papers yet that have been peer-reviewed on the technology and how it works in the field at all?
We have it.
Right. We just
No.
got our provisional patent filed last month.
Have you spoken to any optometrists, any eye specialists, any people who are also researchers in the field? Has anybody corroborated anything of any part of your technology and the ability of it to
Yes.
succeed?
So as I mentioned, our board, Dr. Byrne is the optometry professor at Indiana University.
Is he a shareholder in your company?
We haven't talked about the equity with him
No,
so
the
far,
answer is no.
but
That's
he will
good.
be.
Good, I had to find out that pretty fast. So why haven't you? Why haven't you shared any of this with anybody at this point to get some early proof of concept beyond out of your lab?
Well, the story, I want to tell this story. So we built this thing before using lasers and a camera. We know this works. We know the physics. The only difference here is this thing using flashlight.
Don't confuse a clear vision. Oh, this works perfectly with a short distance. I like that now. So conceptually it works, but you don't know if it really works in the field. And there's been no reviews of any of this, right?
Well,
Okay.
what we do know is that we can generate wavefront data. And that right there is the biggest
Okay,
hurdle.
so there's a word, I'm not sure it's used much at NYU, it's called being disruptive. Where in the context of the user, in this case, excuse me, the optometrist, where are they in this and how are they going to view this? Because that's what they do for a living.
Right.
And you had them up there as a customer. So how do they fit into the customer matrix? How are they going to use this and why do they want it?
Right. Well, this device could replace the gold standard today for the doctor.
Absolutely, hands down, there's no question about it.
And in addition, for the pediatricians as well, if the device initially is just providing a screening system, we believe this could actually generate more business for optometrists, where kids today aren't actually getting their eyes looked at further.
So this could be a precursor to using the better product?
This could be for initially for the optometrist. Yes.
You know, this is one of the things I found a problem with your presentation. It was easy to focus on the U.S. market, but the real problem is in less developed countries is blindness and vision, and you really didn't talk about that at all. And that's the real fish in the barrel market.
Absolutely.
And you haven't addressed it, and then you don't have these competitive issues, then you don't have any of those issues, and you haven't talked about that at all.
We do have the data in terms of specifically to China. And we do know there are 2 billion people unofficially in the world who need to wear glasses, but they don't. And there are 500 million people out there losing their vision because they don't wear glasses. And we also talked to our contact at McKinsey that she thinks this is a great product. You give a smart barometer to a school, it just click to their school children, will tell them that, oh, you need to actually get a pair of glasses. Don't just sit there reading books.
So I want to say a couple things. What you just described, click, and you can find out someone needs a pair of glasses in China, right? Sounds like magic. Sounds like a fantastic solution. Why wouldn't we want it? But it's completely hypothetical right now. You have an interesting opportunity, but it may be confusing you, which is I have a 11-year-old daughter, and we caught her amblyopia at the age of 2. And we caught it, and we had to convince our pediatrician that it was serious, and eventually got to an eye doctor. So I see that market problem, and most people in the audience can imagine that situation. You're trying to say that this same solution is going to work there, and it's going to work in a school where they're to screen 2,000 kids. And you're going to have a professional doing it. And I guess the reason I bring that up, A, is I'm not convinced that one solution is right. Those are very different situations, and you haven't brought the human story to us at all. One we can imagine, one is very hard for us to imagine. In that developing world economy, connectivity and battery life for a smartphone are still critical barriers to using this tool. It may be the right solution, but there are barriers in that situation that you haven't elucidated. So the first question is, should you be presenting this in this dual context? Is that serving your business? Second is, why don't you have any human interaction, either with a pediatrician here in the US or a school teacher or someone in China that you can talk about and help us bring this story to life? Because otherwise, I'm looking at slides of lenses. I couldn't give a shit about lenses. All right? I don't need to know how the lenses are arranged. I don't need to know how the light flows.
Absolutely.
I need to know you have a market failure because the situation is not happening. It's not happening today in the school. It's not happening today in the pediatrician. How can you make that situation happen? And why would a pediatrician want it to happen? Why would that school want it to happen? You have to bring that story to us because right now, I don't see it.
Absolutely. I mean, it is a hypothetical.
But we've had the conversations with pediatricians that have indicated to us there's no good solution today. I've seen it with my own kids, and when I've talked to other people and other parents and their experiences, oh yeah, you're right. They don't really get their vision tested. I guess later on they will when they're in school. But by then you've going to have 3 or 4 years of not having good vision.
Understood, but a pediatrician, right? They have a doctor's office full of screaming kids. You have about 10 minutes with them. They've got a lot of basics to cover.
Right.
The value chain is still in them referring. They're not going to be prescribing. So again, not just is an interesting idea. How does it fit into their day, into their flow? How do they make money off of it ultimately? What's the value proposition to them, and how can you bring that scenario to life? That's where we need a little more.
Did you just admit that this is hypothetical?
No. I'm saying I don't have a device given to you. You go to NYU college and start shining light and measuring refractive errors of freshmen. I don't have that data. But I'm saying this is proved physics. This is, we talk to local pediatricians. They want to see prototype. I'm not saying this is totally happening.
You can answer many of these questions without working technology. And don't get too caught up in the process of creating working technology and wait for that technology before you answer some of these questions. You can show them a piece of paper, because the pediatrician doesn't care about this. What they care is, what's the results on here? What does it look like, and how do I understand it? And you can present that as a JPEG and show it to a parent, show it to a child, show it to a pediatrician, and learn something.
I'm not as harsh. I actually think this is a very good idea, and I think it's at an early stage. And I can't fault you for, being at this stage now. I would be. You are dealing with a huge market opportunity. Any of us who've had refractory done know exactly what you said, that putting these things in front of you, it's cumbersome, it's awkward, it's not comfortable, and kids would be frightened by it. So I think you have a really big opportunity. So I think it's worthwhile for you, no matter whether you win the competition or don't win the competition. I would encourage you to develop this further, and certainly the market abroad is enormous. And I just think you got to forget about this consumer idea. Just be, the developing world, I mean, it's an open market. And I love your idea of go schools. You give it to a little school, an elementary school in the middle of Mali, forget Mali, Ghana. It's better shot these days. I think you just got to take the next stage of, so that we ask you a question, does it work? Can you put it on our eyes? You should be able to do it. So you say it's 3 or 4 months. I would certainly encourage you to spend the next 3 or 4 months. When you do the test, how long do you think it will take? Is it a click?
It should be pretty instant.
5 seconds, you get a prescription.
And you get a prescription, or you just you need glasses?
You get a prescription.
A really
It really spit out the diopters.
If you could do that, it's the holy grail. I mean, you really got a hot thing.
And do you have to hold it particularly still? Do you have to control the lighting situation? What distance are you from a child's eye? How long do they need to keep their eye open?
They have to do all this testing.
These are the barriers that you have to kind of.
Absolutely. Human factor will be the next engineering challenge for us as well.
Do you own the IP?
We do have a patent, a provisional patent.
No one else owns the IP? You can share it with anybody else?
We searched the database so far, as far as I know.
And I would think there are a lot of sources of capital for something like this from the developing world, organizations that are interested, ophthalmic organizations of, dealing with schistosomiasis or what is it? What's the blindness called? Something, the one that Carter's involved with, something blindness. But anyhow, I think there's sources around to do the development work, because if this has a positive result, and I personally believe if you think it's $250 now, this probably is something you can bring down to $50 or $20 before you're through, which is what you need to do, by the way, to make a product for the developing market.
Yeah, but keep in mind, this is not $20.
You can help them with it.
Right. Does this consume any power?
Nope.
Nope. Okay. And why iPhone?
Because I have one.
It's pretty common.
Will you do one
Is
for
there
my
any
BlackBerry, please?
To refactor this for a super cheap Android, Huawei, or other HTC phone, what needs to change here?
Spacing of the optics.
So for each smartphone that you do this for, it's a custom project.
It depends, I
A
guess.
smartphone model,
Right.
because the positioning of the camera moves, the quality of the camera,
flash.
everything. So you can't standardize.
Excuse me, I don't, now that I think of it, I'd go to Apple. See if, I'll bet you they have a development program where they'd give.
You can go to the Jobs Foundation.
Yeah.
But the problem is these phones are not in the hands of the people you
But they
need them
would
to be in.
subsidize to get it if it solved a blindness problem, their foundations.
Again, I think looking at what you could do to make this piece of technology in some way a little more adaptive and handle. I mean, at the end of the day, what's going to be in their hand is a low-end smartphone, and it's going to be different in each doctor's hand. And you've got to figure out, unless you're producing, 200 of these, and constantly keeping up with those changes in phone models, you've got to figure out some economy of scale here.
So help me believe that you came to an aha moment where you said, wait a minute, we just figured out how to get glasses for everybody through this simple technology. When did that happen? Can you describe that? And why would we believe it? Explain it in a way that we believe that we know that you have that.
Well, actually, I met this guy at a bar. We are
Not that aha moment.
All right, it's not a drunk story. So basically, I see the press MIT lab, their product. I said I can build a better one because I know the technology. I know I can build one product. Don't need interaction between doctor and patient. That's how I came up the.
And we met at the, he was going to, we just met up at the bar, we talked about this.
No, I want you to describe it from a tech perspective. We're pretty techy here.
Yep.
What did you figure out?
All right, here's the story. You have this amazing computer in your hand, and with the flashlight, with the camera, guess what? The camera as good as a scientific camera 5 years ago. It's a back-in silicon wafer CMOS camera. You need to spend $20,000 5 years ago to buy the same quality camera. I can use the exactly camera to do scientific experiment. Why don't I build a microscope on top of that thing?
But that's not your technology. Talk about your tech. What did you figure out?
That's our technology, because
Microscopes,
the flashlight and the camera is 50% of this entire setup.
Right, the flashlight and the camera is in the iPhone.
Right.
Okay, your technology
Is
is
the
this
microscope.
piece. Right. What about the microscope? Did you figure, is it
That's
unusual? No, it's that. What did you figure out about the technology of the microscope to make it work?
Part of my PhD dissertation.
Well, can you explain a little of it so we can?
Oh, you want to
layman-
steal the idea?
I have some time this afternoon. Yeah, I've got
Alright.
some time.
It's easy.
Do you wanna show
So,
the
Oh, it's
slide?
easy.
uh,
Great. Make us believe that it works.
all right, here's the idea.
Yeah.
So, what you do is you want to create a star on your retina. When I detect the light from that star on your retina, that light encoding the information of your eyeball. Guess what? What kind of information I can get? It's called wavefront. The wavefront essentially, it's a metric tell you how good your eyeball is. Which device I'm used to measure that wavefront is this special device called micro lens array. It's a 3 micrometer big. It's a 2D array. We have 20 by 20 of them lined up, and each lens might measure a sub-aperture of your pupil. And you do math, you'll figure out contour shape representing refractive errors.
Is this version 1? Is there going to be a version 2?
Yes, there will be, so,
Is that all in, that's all in this?
And can this be fully self-contained?
yes.
You have it
yes.
open here just to show us?
Yeah.
Right.
So in terms of durability,
We'll have the manufacturing process.
there's no mechanical parts.
Nope, nothing
And there are
moves.
no electronics in here
Nope.
at all.
Right.
So the costs, other than plastic, are what? This lens array?
The lenses, the lens.
And do you have to custom build that, or is there a way to source that? Is that in
They're manufacturing U.S. building that. They're manufacturing China building that. It just,
Right.
we can make this a standard
Yeah,
product.
I want to stay with your vision.
Okay.
With your vision.
All right.
Sorry.
Got that?
Sorry.
So guys,
All
we're
right.
just on 20 minutes, so...
Just out like, I just want your vision.
Finish up.
This isn't a one-trick pony. What's your secondary product?
Your next, you mean your next?
Yeah,
product?
your next.
Retinal imaging. Beyond this, because we want to cover the eye. We want to not only tell you what's your optical quality, we also want to tell you, do you have diabetes? Do you have high blood pressure? Eye is the window. We'll tell you a lot of information.
Was his red in the bar? That would be pretty easy. You didn't need your advice.
We need to think about that. We need to figure out maybe a different design,
Okay.
but it's based on mobile technology.
Okay.
Mark, Yaping, how you guys feeling?
Great.
I mean, that feedback was amazing, wasn't it?
Very interactive.
Very interactive. Like, you should be feeling good about this. Like, all the things you can do now. I think we've found our Simon Cowell as well. Is that how you pronounce his name?
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you,
short
guys.
transition,
Thank
then
you,
we're
guys.
back with our next pitch, which is breakers. We'll see you in a few minutes.
I see you're back again.
So if you could please find your seats, I'm about to introduce our next finalist who's going to be pitching this afternoon. If our previous team could please get off the stage, you guys are too excited. Well, look what you've done. Now, that's right. We are live streaming today as well, so greetings to people watching this, live through streaming. And you can go to the New York University Stern School of Business homepage. That's where it's been streamed from. If you want to tweet any ideas out that you're hearing today, the hashtag is NYU Challenge. The Berkley Entrepreneurship Center Twitter tag is @NYU Innovation. And I should say as well, if you weren't here this morning, we've got Dean Myers here graphically recording the business concepts as we're hearing them. Dean's work is going up in the lobby out there, so it'll, if you please check it out later, take pictures of it, tweet that out to share the main concepts behind the ideas that you're hearing today. Now, raise of hands, who here likes music? Come on, Bill, I know you like music. Come on. This next, you're going to like this next pitch because it's for music fans. Basically, Breakers. Mike and Ellen are here to explain how Breakers, inspired by fantasy sports, is a platform for music fans to act as talent scouts. So finding and breaking new bands to earn rewards and recognition. So, warm welcome for Breakers.
Berkeley? Thank you, everyone. Good afternoon. I'm Mike. This is Alan, and we're Breakers, a fantasy sports-like platform for the music fan. We enable music fans to find and champion their favorite new bands, helping them get their big break. Hey, so what makes music so special? As a huge music fan myself, I can tell you that there's more to it than just sitting alone in your room listening to songs. The consistent growth in the live music industry proves that music fans want more than just passively listen to music. They want to actively experience it, and they want to experience it together in a community.
I think it's good when they're battling about the enemies.
There are plenty of services out there right now that allow you...
Exactly.
So that was good.
And the other judge was
Yeah, I think there's a...
Yeah, that was good.
That helped us last in the semis. We had someone defending our idea. So
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Sorry about that. Are they? We good?
I think we're good.
All right. There are plenty of great services out there that allow us to listen to music, but where they come up short is in capturing the communal experience. If you want to find new music, you have a plethora of options and resources online that you can use. Or if you want to share new music, you can post it just about anywhere online. What you don't have is a platform to find and support your favorite new bands, to be recognized as a tastemaker in the music community, and to easily view your friends' most recent discoveries. What we need is a centralized community where music fans can come together, and Breakers brings all of these things together. Now, we also take it a step further by rewarding fans for all of these behaviors. So let's say I'm a music fan and I'm trying to find something new. I can head to Breakers and see on our charts the top rising bands. So on our charts here, Waxahachie is the #1 band. So if we jump into our beta, which Alan has built from the ground up, we can take a look to get a little more information. We currently have over 200 testers over the past about month and a half testing out Breakers and giving us feedback. So when you go to the artist page, you can see their popularity score, and although there hasn't been a change today, they've earned 16 points in the past 10 days. So I actually heard about them before we went to South by Southwest to promote about a month ago, so I added them to my artist roster. Here you can see they've earned me over 70 points since I added them, which means they've done rather well. So the way that Breakers works is that you add your favorite up-and-coming bands to your roster that you think are going to be the next big thing. So we're encouraged to share these bands and to buy them on our site through our incentivization structure by rewarding fans with points. So as the bands on my roster increase in popularity, these points feed into my player score that shows my status as a tastemaker in the music world. We're also going to be adding more rewards for this, like badges, brand-sponsored partnerships to give out products, and we'll also be working with artists so that they can directly reward their biggest fans. So for the music nerd like myself out there, I want to keep this value as high as possible so that I can earn these rewards, but also so that I can be featured as one of the top influencers on our site. Then casual fans can come to Breakers not only to find the fastest rising bands, but to also see the most influential users of similar tastes.
Our primary user is the hardcore music fan, the young tech-savvy music fan. We estimate there to be between 6 to 7 million of these hardcore music fans out there, out of a wider market of 69 million casual fans, based on research on comparable websites. To reach these users, we will mobilize nearly 1,000 industry contacts to create a pre-launch buzz. Our acquisition strategy starts here in New York City, in the heart of the music scene, and we have over 40 artists on board to promote us when we launch. Virality is built into the core of the product. Our point system incentivizes our fans to bring their friends in, because when they break the same artist, that raises their cred on site. It also encourages artists to mobilize their fans to break them on site, which increases their value and their visibility. Our monetization strategy starts with advertising and affiliate revenue through Amazon and iTunes, which integrates seamlessly within our product. As we grow, we'll be incorporating premium features for artists that allow them to increase their reach throughout the site. We project that in 2014, these three revenue streams combined will add up to $1.4 million, and that will break even by March 2015. Down the line, we'll also be adding other revenue strategies, including licensing our proprietary data that the game generates, and also direct sales of concert tickets and merchandise. My background is in computer engineering, which I studied at Iowa State and at Princeton, and music technology, which I studied right here at NYU. With over 15 years of software development experience, I've built a variety of different types of products, and I've done big data analysis. These are the skills I've used to build the product that we have today. Mike studied finance at Villanova and music business right here at NYU. He has experience within the industry, promoting albums, planning tours, and he's made connections that lead to artists such as Adele, P. Diddy, Vampire Weekend, and Paul McCartney. We're not alone in this, though. We've attracted a number of people who've contributed in a variety of ways simply because they believe in our vision. Over the past 2 weeks alone, we've had an experienced developer, an accomplished developer, and an experienced designer reach out to us unbidden simply because they want to get involved in the project. We've also had referrals to, we've had our business plan referred to Doug Morris, the CEO of Sony Music Entertainment. We also have built a team of advisors that have helped us mold Breakers from an inspiring idea into a viable business.
Since I first had the idea for Breakers and I brought it to Alan, up until today, we've built everything on a few $1,000s worth of bootstrap funds between the two of us. With the $75,000 award, we'll use it to hire a senior developer and contract out design work in order to launch a minimum viable product within 4 to 6 weeks, iterating on that to add more features for the next 2 months. We'll be adding things like social media integration for fans to connect with each other, the charts that we discussed before, and also integration with streaming services to avoid any high licensing costs. Now, we're also opening up talks to investors and speaking with family about raising an additional $75,000, which will sustain our business through 2013. At that point, we'll seek another round of funding to hire more development and enter our phase 2, where we introduce a lot more of our exciting features that we can get into later. So Our goal is that anytime a music fan hears a new band, their first thought is, I need to break them. You fans out there have had music pushed on you your whole life. You have a voice. We give you a stage. Thank you very much.
Nicely done, guys. If we could have the house lights up again, please. And please, judges, over to you.
I'd like to ask you a question. What's the pain point, or say it differently, is the pain point for the audience as you just pointed out to them, or is the pain point for the independent bands?
There are a few different pain points. For the casual fan, there's no real good way to see what your friends are listening to like right now. For the more avid fan, you're not able to...
Well, they are. I mean, they can tweet it, they can put it up on Facebook, they can promote.
there are millions of
I mean, there's so many social
Tons.
connections today. It's too many. So I think they have a voice in that sense. Now, not specifically perhaps devoted to music.
Right, so it's more of like the community aspect of it. Like if you tweet out a band and it registers on Twitter Music, it kind of gets thrown in with all the rest of the noise in the Twitter stream. It feels very mechanical and not like you're actually a part of a communal experience. Everybody's focused on providing you with the audio. Like there's a million services that do that. It's all about the audio. But as Mike had pointed out at the beginning of the presentation, if it were just about the audio, people wouldn't go to these festivals by the hundreds of thousands. So there's something more to it, like kind of the communal experience aspect of it. And that's what we're really trying to focus on.
So isn't all that's here is you just put up a social sharing network with points? Is there any interesting tech here, anything at all?
So the game platform itself is completely designed to be specific to what we're doing. There are folks who have thought of like a fantasy, like more or less like a stock market for music, but it gets all caught up in how many shares do I allocate to this band, or how do I allocate my
But
currency.
there's no tech here. It's just pretty basic, straightforward social sharing of information with a prize component.
Well, the tech is in the actual design of the game and the platform itself.
in the algorithm that decides a band's popularity, which Alan
Tell me
spoke.
about, what are the elements associated with that algorithm that decides a band's popularity?
So, I mean, it focuses on the popularity of the bands, which we determine through data that we license from an external provider that aggregates information.
Tell us about that. What does that mean?
So,
That's a critical component of this, right?
right, yeah, and it works. It's so there's a company called Econess. They,
Right. I know
yeah,
that.
so they produce metrics of popularity. That alone isn't enough to make a game exciting, because those only change every few weeks.
Isn't Econess actually also listening to the types of music that is as well? They have that whole database?
Yeah, they fill that in as well. So they provide a lot of things. But the particular part that we build off of are their popularity metrics.
Which takes into account social media mentions, YouTube views.
Pretty straightforward stuff.
Well, that part, that's a massive data mining operation. So it actually takes quite a bit of tech to compile that, but those numbers themselves are not particularly suitable for actually making an interesting game, because they don't change frequently. So what we've bundled on top of that are the ability to track what users are doing on the site, and it changes in real time. So as soon as you break a band, that artist has more momentum, and you can see that actually change in real time. That doesn't happen with Econess platform, and it's, from a technological standpoint, it's extremely difficult to make that to actually work.
So how easy is it to game in this?
I'm sorry, what?
How easy is it to game it?
To game it, we want people gaming it. We want people on there because they care about the artists. We want them on there. If they have, like, for me, one of my favorite artists is Mika Pollock. I want to get all my friends on there breaking Mika Pollock, because that pushes her up. She rises up in the charts, and then everybody knows about her.
I'm a little hung up on this word break, right? We all know, right? For the last 8 years, everybody's chasing verbs, right? And you guys are using a verb here, right? And it's a cool one, you know? It's got a lot of nice connotations to it. I took it to mean something, and now I'm confused. What I took it to mean was I was the first person to list a band that's not already in iTunes and the major services. That's what I took it to mean. Very specifically, focusing on music before it gets discovered.
Right.
That's what I took it to mean. Now, you've talked about a bunch of people breaking that band, and I'm confused. How can 50 people break it together? Like, what does that mean?
So it takes more than one person to actually break a band into the mainstream. If it's just one fan that likes them, that doesn't make them big. So it takes a movement. It takes you mobilizing your friends to also get involved.
Okay.
So for that first fan,
Sure.
we're going to identify them. So for the first X amount of fans, we're going to give them badges to show that they are the first ones. They're the super fans.
Right.
So there's differentiation.
So they're the ones that broke it, and everybody else is just kind of supporting it. My next question is, I love fantasy football and fantasy baseball, and I think it's a great model to build on. I know some folks doing the same thing over at MTV, did the same thing around elections, for example. But there you've got a forcing function. You actually have a competition. And there's a winner and a loser, and something happens. There's an event. And that's a little bit what I'm missing here. So I go back over time, and it's essentially, even though someone broke them, all you're doing is just managing rankings. And those rankings change, and they go up and they go down. What's the payoff?
So the payoff is recognition. You're trying to stay up in the rankings. It's a model that's proven well in other sites. For Stack Exchange, for example, which is a question and answer community for programmers, they award you points when more people bump up your scores. And it's produced a good deal of competition amongst people to see who can rise to the top, who can stay there. And it also produces recognition for those people. They become household names. It's kind of like you used to have fan clubs that had a president. Everyone knew that president was the biggest fan. We're trying to bring that back and spread it beyond teeny boppers, but to the whole kind of music scene.
I didn't hear anything that says this is a destination site. You're talking about advertising as a primary revenue source, right?
Right.
What makes this a destination site? Is there any music included in it? Do you play the music of the band or what?
So we're already integrated with Spotify, where you can play the music straight from the charts that we showed. You can play straight on the charts page. You don't have to be taken anywhere else. We're going to be integrating with other services so that no matter what platform you use, you can listen to music.
Okay, so
And then eventually down the road, one of our ideas is to create a Spotify app. So anytime you break a band, they'll immediately be added to your Spotify app, and you can listen to all the bands that you broke right there as well.
okay, but to get the advertising, you need the eyeballs. What makes this a destination site for eyeballs for advertising?
Right. So we're bringing in people because the artists want to get all their fans on the site, right? Because that increases their profile.
What does on it physically mean relative to the user experience?
I mean, signed up on.
I sign up,
Like
I
logged into
push
the
a
site.
band, then I'm done with the experience, or what? What am I doing next?
Well, so you're looking at the charts to see. You're looking at your friends list, seeing who they're breaking, because you might not be
So
the
I'm
first
looking
to
at
discover.
numbers. I'm looking at who's up high on the charts. I'm up high and I'm done.
Well, I think what you're
Just explain that to me.
getting at, and maybe I'm wrong, but there
You're
are
probably
lots. All the patterns you're talking about already exist in other places online, pretty much. And you guys are in a space where you're not trying to create a new pattern. You're competing. People already go to places to listen to music, to share music, to vote and rate music. All right. So there's got to, and be great if they did it on your site. No problem. Right. That'd be fantastic too. But if you're competing for the same behavior that's happening elsewhere, what is it that's going to make this a destination for music discovery versus someplace else? And again, what I'm hung up on is I thought it was getting to bands before they break. Yet you keep talking about Spotify, you keep talking about mainstream services where I can already hear them anyway.
Right.
So if it's just taste making within established music, I'm not seeing the unique reason to be there. If it's I get to find out about a band before it broke because you heard them in a little club in South by Southwest, and maybe they're not available on other services, like maybe for the hardcore music fan, that's a real draw.
Yeah, so generally speaking, these
confused
bands
again,
will, even bands that are just playing locally,
Yeah.
they can get their music into iTunes, into Amazon, into Spotify. So it's, as soon as you start recording music, it's not super difficult to have your music out there. So we can stream the music for bands that are lesser known. And that's an important part of things, because if you weren't actually at the club, and your friend broke this band, and you're like, I need to check them out, they're going way up. You have to have a way to hear them. We want to drive people to those concerts, but you have to be able to hear their music on site as well.
Getting back to your revenue model, I think you referenced 200 people that are on the site now, so it'd be interesting to see what those usage patterns look like, how much repeat usage you're seeing, how many times a day are they on the site, And then tell us a little bit more about the affiliate model, which between ad eyeballs and affiliate fees are two of the less, are less enthusiastic about them today than we have been historically.
Yeah, we're starting with those because they're the easily ones to add to the site to start with.
Do you have user metrics that you can point to now that give you a sense that you've got a genie in a bottle here, and once this thing gets out and about, people are going to be bouncing on it 20 times a day?
Well, we've seen, with the testers, we've seen an average of 4 minutes on the site with about a 40% bounce rate. I don't have any retention numbers, but if I get your information, I'll be able to send you all of that data afterwards.
Sounds like Google Analytics.
That's Google Analytics, all right.
If you're quoting bounce rates right now, I'm more interested in repeat usage among people that are registered users.
Yeah, I don't have that off the top of my head,
Okay.
but I'll get it to you
All right,
afterwards.
no problem.
Just a piece of advice, you guys are going after a very competitive market, right? Music market. And you're talking about gaming, which is something that's being explored rampantly everywhere. You haven't done a good job of articulating what's unique here other than leaderboards and social share. I couldn't walk away and explain to someone why breaking is any different than music rankings with social sharing to anybody else. And that's what I'm struggling with.
So as part of the recognition aspect, it's the whole...
All ranking systems have recognition. They all have reputation. That's all there. These are default patterns now in gamifying anything. What is it in breaking that's unique?
So in Spotify, there's no way to, you can't see who the top
Sure, understood.
people.
Understood.
Hype
I'm not
Machine-
saying Spotify has that feature. I'm just saying, what are you doing other than adding leaderboards and social sharing to music? Is there anything else unique about this?
So it's the core experience. We're looking to, the beginning is for leaderboards for who's breaking artists. What we're going to do is build on that, bring in features like, if you were at a concert, submitting like the sort of an Instagram aspect of it, where you're bringing the photos of what you did at the concert. We want everything, every part of the music
Yeah,
experience
but big deal.
outside of the. Go ahead.
You use a word here for the avid music breaker is to support a community and engage. Engage. Where's the engagement here?
Okay, so...
Explain to me where and how the community engages with the band. I don't see it.
Okay, so what we were talking about with artist premium features is eventually we want to give control of the pages over to the artists, which is rather easy to do with integration with companies like Bandpage and Reverb Nation. So they can update on that platform and it
Which is what
updates
they
everywhere.
do. That's what they do. They're the engagement.
So we give them control over their pages, and then with our premium features, we're able to give
So
them
you give them control over what pages?
the artist page.
Like
so
their
they
landing
can
page.
they can add exclusive content if they want.
But the artist gets control over their page.
Right.
All right.
Okay. So with the premium features and all the data that we're able to collect, we can tell them who their biggest fans are, and we can give them insights into their behavior. So then we also enable them to give them virtual and physical rewards for bringing on more fans, for breaking them, anything they want to reward fans for.
So engagement is where?
So it's in the artist-fan interaction.
How does the fan interact? I understand how the artist is now interacting. How does the fan interact with the band? That's what they want, right? They want to be cool and interact with their favorite music. How do they do that?
So one thing that we don't have in the beta yet, or in the demo, is that we're going to have sort of activity walls where fans and artists can...
Sort of?
We're going to have activity walls where fans can share things on each other's pages, and you can also interact with artists that way.
Yeah, not very clear.
Getting back to something Robert was bringing up earlier, I'm a music nutcase. I love sports. But when I heard the analogy between this functionality and fantasy sports, it was a huge disconnect for me. But you bring up Bandpage, Root Music, Clout, the badging system in Foursquare. There are a lot of good analogs there, but I don't think fantasy sports is maybe the card you lead with.
We've had a little trouble with that. We're trying to figure out a better tagline.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
But for most, of the male population that we talk to, that's the easiest way to get the point across.
People
And I would argue the alternative, which is there is, I think, somewhere to go with it. You're just not going far enough. If enough people vote on this and it means the band you broke gets a spot at South by Southwest, you know, and you can actually convert it to like some event in the world, then you get closer to fantasy sports, because you know this year at South by Southwest, 3 of my bands made the roster. It's the same thing as making the playoffs, right? But I would say if you want to do something unique, more unique, try and see if you can build those relationships. So there's a moment in time which all this energy I put in converts, and as I get closer to South by Southwest, like my friends breaking them too. Are they going to make the cut? Are they going to make the cut? They make the festival. I can go to the festival. I can brag that me and my friends got them in the festival. Maybe I get front row seats in the festival. Like, there's something to that I think could be more powerful than just leaderboards.
There's a real value proposition here because bands want to get closer to their fans because the record labels are meaningless today, and fans want to get closer to their bands. So the whole notion of this social gathering around music is spot on. And you just got to get these communities to come together, and you're trying to build a platform to do exactly that. I think it just needs a few more revs on the positioning.
Okay. So like you were saying about fantasy sports, one idea for down the road, we're going to be doing closed fantasy leagues where you can, your friends can all join a league and you can compete with each other directly. And this is all built around things like South by Southwest and big music festivals. So, you know, Coachella, you're going to be picking the bands that you think are going to make the lineup, that you think are going to really blow up at Coachella. And that's how our sort of closed fantasy leagues will work whenever we launch that.
Yeah, so what about authenticity? Can somebody vote down a band and say they suck?
No, we don't want to encourage that behavior. We're positive.
But it's not authentic, is it?
I mean, I guess not everything authentic, though, would contribute to the community.
There's a lot of
Do you want people
negativity.
coming to your angel breakfast and voting down the deals?
Yeah, I actually would, yeah. I would.
But why don't
I
you-
like that adversarial.
So why don't you
right.
institute
But that's,
that?
but that's about investing.
Why don't you institute that next month?
I actually announced it at the last meeting. Yes.
I don't think it's a good idea.
Yeah, the rest of the universe does that just
If
fine.
you read YouTube comments, people can get pretty nasty.
Yeah,
So we're
yeah,
trying to
more
stay as
nasty.
far away from that as possible.
All right, guys, unless there's no further questions,
No, for
we're out of time. Thank you. Breakers.
Thank you, everyone.
Princeton, go Tigers.
at the open meeting.
Yes, debate.
Short transition, and then we're back with Wedge Technologies in a couple of minutes.
How long has it been? Shall we get into it again? Excuse our disgrace. We've had no time to paint the place. The dog is with someone else on your skin. And it's all my fault for not getting off. So you made it start. Can you make it stop? You don't know. You don't know. Sylvia.
Okay, everyone, let's find our seats. Please find your seats. I'm going to introduce the third finalist pitching today in the new venture competition. And guys, can I have the house lights down, please? Gary, Joel, and Laurie Lee. No?
Just Joel and Laurie Lee.
Just Joel and Laurie Lee today are here from Wedge Technologies. This is a new wind turbine that meets the demand for wind technology in urban and other densely populated areas. Warm round of applause for Wedge Technologies, please.
So did you know that NYU has its own power plant? Across the pavilion and 3 stories under Mercer Plaza is the cogeneration plant. The cogeneration plant, or cogen, can power up to more than a dozen NYU buildings in the event of a power outage, which is exactly what happened during Sandy. Cogen is an example of a microgrid. Cities across the world are moving towards a microgrid structure because they help take pressure off of the centralized grid, and they're better for the environment because they can incorporate renewables like wind and solar. They're also more resilient to natural disasters. If one node is knocked out, the entire system doesn't fail. In a city like New York, this could mean that a few hundred people go without electricity rather than a few million. The US Department of Energy has a multi-year plan in place to move towards microgrids. New York State has many incentive programs to help install wind and solar to develop the grids here. One of their biggest incentive programs is for small wind turbines, which last year capped out at just over $4 million. Now, this image was taken on the 11th floor of Stern. As you can see, there's plenty of wind. But how many wind turbines do you see?
You actually don't see any, and there's a very good reason for that. The typical 3-blade turbine you're used to seeing when you think of wind turbines is a lift turbine. It works like an airplane wing, which means it basically wants a continuous stream of wind to create a pressure differential, which gets the blades to spin. Now, the beauty of urban environments is that we've created hundreds of artificial canyons in our cities, which basically means we have nothing resembling continuous wind streams in the urban environment. It's extremely turbulent, as you can see by a highly technical slide up here. Right? Basically, the canyons funnel the wind in various directions, various speeds, very difficult to predict, and exactly the kind of environment you don't want for a typical lift turbine. Not only do they not generate in this kind of environment, they can actually shake themselves to pieces if the wind speeds are right and the differences are big enough. So the issue here is that we've got a big gap. There's incentives set by federal, state agencies. There's goals that are set by entities like NYU, entities like governmental agencies, and individual users to meet certain energy efficiency goals, certain sustainability goals, and a huge part of the renewables market isn't available to them in the urban environment. So we think the solution for that should obviously be a technology, something that can bridge that gap and allow wind to be useful in this environment. We think at Wedge we've got that technology. A turbine that's small, low profile, aesthetically pleasing, quiet, and can sit on a rooftop generating renewable, sustainable energy to power our cities. We're certainly not the first to think of this. Right? The small wind market has hundreds of companies with hundreds of different types of turbine designs, and it's fragmented like crazy, frankly. There's only one large company, that's Southwest Wind, with a big blue chunk, that has any significant market share. One of the biggest problems, and I think one of the biggest reasons for this fragmentation, is that most of the technologies just don't work, or at least they don't work in the environment they're used in, or they don't work in the way they're installed. The biggest single issue with small wind is that the turbine designs are all for that streaming wind design. They're designed to have a 50-foot tower sitting in an open area, and that environment rarely, if ever, exists in the urban environment. The current market is about $400 million in the US. It's expected to quadruple by 2020. The world market should reach about $3.3 billion by 2020, and it's expected to grow at about 20% after that. This does not include remote installations. So if you're looking at putting turbines on telecom towers or oil rigs or gas pipelines, that's estimated to be about another $9 billion by 2020. We think that a company with the right technology, the right product, and the right channels can grab a huge part of this market, and we hope to be that company. Our design is simple but unique. We're patented in the United States, we're patented in Canada, and we're patented in New Zealand, and we're pursuing other international patents now. Basically, instead of using a small number of large lift blades, we're using a large number of small impulse blades. So it's a different theory of turbine design. It's not new. It's been around for 2,000 years. The Dutch turbines or windmills work on the same basic principle. So our intent is to do it in a low to the ground, easy to manufacture, easy to install, easy to maintain package. The first model we built was tested preliminarily in a lab in Canada. It finished in February. We're making upgrades to it now because it's only a 1 kW model, and our intent is to move forward to a 10 kW model for the initial beta products that we put on roofs, and eventually to move up to a 100 kW model. This first model cost us about $10,000 to build, with a lot of lessons learned. We think if we had to do it again today, we could build it and install it for about $8,000. Our estimated payback is something like 15 years, which is better than most of our products. All these numbers are without tax incentives, by the way. It was the only way we could figure out to make the field level, depending on how good your lobbyists are. Still, even with a 15-year payback, you may be sitting there saying, who's going to invest in a product that takes 15 years to pay back? NYU actually will invest in that product. We've been in talks with Green Grants at NYU. They're looking to fund our first 10 kW model and to install it in a roof at an NYU building. We've looked at the wind analytics reports. We've actually narrowed it down to 5 possible sites. Stern, which is right across the way, is one of the possible sites. So hopefully in about 6 to 8 months, you'll see one of our turbines on top of the business school here. And this is where technical difficulties come in. So NYU is classic of the type of customer we think we want to pursue early on. An entity with a set goal for achieving certain sustainability requirements, and an entity that owns and operates a number of facilities in the cities. So our initial clients are going to be universities, schools, governmental agencies like the Office of Government Services, the Office of Mental Health, various state and city agencies that own and operate hundreds of buildings in New York. These types of entities are willing to take a long-term view. When you own and operate a building for 60 years, a 15-year payback doesn't look all that bad. These types of entities also do huge capital improvement programs regularly. So spending $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 to put a few turbines on a roof is 0.25% of their capital costs, and it doesn't seem like that much money to them. So they're less price sensitive in general. We hope to, initially, we're going to have to do our own installations. So for our initial first phase, the intent is to contract out the manufacturing. We've actually been speaking to local manufacturers in Brooklyn for the initial 20 to 100 models to install them correctly, put them on a roof, and make absolutely sure that they work the way they're defined to work. Because as I said earlier, the biggest problem with wind is people will design a turbine in a lab, and that'll get installed in an environment that it's just not supposed to be in, it works poorly and it gives a bad reputation to the product. So for the initial phase that we'll contract out the manufacturing, we intend to do the installations ourselves. Once we've improved our product, gotten to larger sizes, and basically decreased our cost per install watt and decreased our payback period, the intent is to pursue other commercial clients that have those same characteristics that NYU does. They own and operate their own buildings, and they own and operate a whole lot of buildings. So the intent is to initially pursue customers like hotels and like hospitals. So Hilton, for example, owns and operates over 30 buildings in New York City alone. The first step is to start in New York and establish ourselves here, because New York has the second highest energy prices of any place in the United States, other than Honolulu. And I voted for Honolulu, but NYU's here. Once we establish ourselves in New York, the intent is to distribute to other similar cities like LA, Dallas, Houston, Boston, basically other urban cities with very high energy costs. It makes our payback period better, it makes our product more attractive, and it makes more sense in these environments. And looking even more forward, once we've established ourselves in these cities, the intent is to obviously move globally to cities across the world. Now, once we move beyond our first stage in New York, which is where we intend to install the turbines, build them, do basically everything in-house to make sure that it works and it works perfectly. The intent when we move nationally is to go with the distribution model, to speak to local installers of solar panels, local installers of wind turbines, to basically become the R&D and design and handle the manufacturing end of it, but let the distribution happen through the existing distributors of renewable energy. So, 2 minutes, guys. Thank you. So, like wireless, like cell phones, basically are pushing landlines out of the current spectrum, we think distributed energy and microgrids are going to push the centralized grid out. And we think part of that is going to be renewable energy. And we think that renewable energy is going to become a part of your everyday life. It's not going to be something that's 20 miles away in someone else's backyard. It's going to be something that's on your rooftop. And we think wind is going to be a huge part of that market. And we think that we want to be part of that huge movement. Our vision is one of turbines on rooftops across cities, right next to the ugly air conditioners that are there today, producing renewable energy. I'm Joel. This is Laura Lee. Thank you for your time, and we hope you'll help us make our vision a reality.
We can have the house lights up a bit. Well done, guys. That was tight. How about those visuals? Yeah, there was stuff moving and everything. What do you think, judges?
I just got to get one thing out of the way. How come Chicago is not up there?
Its energy prices are actually not as high as you'd think. They're not in the top 10 most expensive.
Windy has nothing to do with their weather.
I'd like to ask a question.
Politics.
In terms of your presentation,
That's where it comes from.
you didn't give us anything about your credibility of why the two of you.
Sure.
I mean,
So we were waiting for the Q&A.
I thought you were in the entertainment business or something.
So I'm an electrical engineer by training. I've spent the last 10 years designing buildings around the world, in Manhattan, a lot of buildings, and a lot of buildings in Europe. I've designed, I was actually manager for the World Trade Center project for 8 years. The largest fuel cell installation in the world at the time was being, I helped design that in the basement of that building. I've incorporated cogen systems. I've actually helped design several of the buildings at NYU, although not Tisch. I've got a lot of experience integrating these technologies into buildings and using various technologies, going anywhere from solar to cogen with natural gas to fuel cells, everything else you can think of, and putting them into buildings.
Who's the wind technology expert here?
That would be Gary, who's not here today.
Gary is my father, and I've been working with him since day one when I was 15 to get this technology patented and get it out there. And yeah, my background is I have an undergrad in Bachelor's of Science from University of Toronto, and I'm here at NYU to get my master's. I think my recently coined title was Entrepreneur Storyteller, and that's really been my job, is to translate a lot of the very technical aspects of urban wind turbines into something that people can understand.
So just to give you the basis, Gary's an engineer also. He works in the oil industry. He actually works for, I don't know if we can say the company he works for publicly, but he works for a major oil company. And he's the one who came up with the initial turbine design. He works with turbines basically every day of his life. And while he's working, I believe it was in Australia, is where he first sort of had the idea of, his original intent was to install these in remote locations. And then as we looked at the characteristics as we were testing, it made a lot more sense to us to put them in urban locations.
So any proof of concept here? Just to point something out.
Sure.
You had one slide that showed, which certainly made sense, a movable system, right? As the wind is changing direction. That one doesn't appear to have it on there, right?
This is an earlier rendering.
So that's not what you're doing?
No, the intent is to have it be movable, so it tracks the wind.
But your key slide shows a product that you won't have. Okay.
Well, it
I
could
can-
if you wanted it to be designed that way. It's customizable in that aspect.
Well, I don't think this is something that is up to the user to customize. This is an efficiency issue about the quality of the technology, right? So you're not here to describe the technology. I just wonder, the whole flap
Leave this
method
one up.
of being a sailor, those are just flat flaps. Why aren't they concave in some way that captures the wind?
These are just the best renderings we could get at the moment. The intent of the blades is to be, like you said, a little bit concave
Yes.
and to be angled, and they can be
They
angled
have
at
to be.
various locations to customize them to whatever the wind conditions are in that particular building. The intent, so we've been speaking to companies like Wind Analytics, which I'm sure you've heard of if you're in the wind industry.
Every day.
They were basically, so Wind Analytics was, we've actually spoken to Wind Analytics and UGE, which are another two wind companies who were trying to do basically what we were trying to do for the last 5 or 6 years. They've both gotten out of that business. It's a tough business to be in. And part of the discussion we've had with them is, what did you do wrong? And one of the things that both of them said to us is they pursued the wrong clientele. They were both trying to sell commercially, basically. You own a brownstone, put a turbine on your roof. And what we've sort of gleaned from our conversations with them is it's not the right way to go. It's too big of a capital investment for those types of people, and they're not. You'll get a certain percentage of it, which is the super green folks that do it for the sake of being green, but you won't get the mass market. And their suggestion and what we've been looking at is going after the more commercial market. Again, people like NYU or private developers. I mean, in my experience, I've worked with, do you know the Solaire building? Anyone in Battery Park City? The Solaire is a very green, very sustainable building. They've got solar panels. They've got all kinds of nifty stuff. It costs them about 2% more to put all that into the building, and the developer's asking roughly 15 to 20% more per square foot because of that. So that's the sort of initial customer we want to go after, the people who may look at the 15, 20-year payback and say, that's too long of a payback, but the small capital investment is worth the PR to me, or it's worth meeting my goal.
I want to get back to Gary for just a second.
Sure.
Because when I read the business plan, I thought, here's this developer off to the side, and he's licensing the technology to the company, but the company's not going to own the IP.
Correct.
And now I see there's a direct connection, but what's the structure going to look like?
I mean, that's the basic intent right now. The company is incorporated in Canada, but we'll reincorporate in the US. And the intent is to have Gary, the owner of the patent, wants to license exclusively to the company rather than the company owning the license.
Yeah, that's not good.
Okay.
I missed a couple steps earlier, and I appreciate that we are a limited panel with limited expertise. And I feel like with a project like this, in a sense, I'm looking to NYU before you get here to vet some of the claims.
Okay.
The things I'm missing, I'll start out, and then I have some follow-up questions. The first thing I'm missing is performance data from your lab test that shows this is more efficient than other things.
Okay.
Second is, who is the engineer in this with aeronautics and the right experience to design a wind turbine, not just turbines, because turbines is a huge class of things. I'm missing both those things. Can you fill in the blanks for me?
Sure. So if I can flip through all the slides, I can give you the base power curve for our 1 kW model. And there's a lot of flipping. The short answer is there's no, this is our...
I'm looking for a comparative power curve. You compare to other turbines, wind turbines.
Inherently, a drag turbine like this design is less efficient than a lift turbine.
That's what I thought.
Right. There's no way to become more efficient. The comparative mark is that in an urban environment, their efficiency is 0, right? Because they can't generate electricity with
You're saying
turbulent
there is
wind.
nobody else that you can compare this to with a turbine that's been designed for urban environments?
No, I'm not saying that.
Okay.
I'm saying for the typical
I saw a lot of
turbine.
slices on your pie, and I assume someone's thought of urban.
I'm saying there are several other folks trying to do the same thing. We're about on par. We end up being at about 30%.
Okay. All right.
At least with the initial test of the 1 kW model. For the bigger models, we won't know until we build them.
Second, explain to me the aerodynamic design here and how and why you came up with this aerodynamic design.
Again, there are no aeronautical engineers on the team. It's all mechanical and electrical engineers.
Right.
We had one early on, very early on, who just sort of helped us out pro bono. And that's where some of the inlet cowling and all of that came from. And we also very early on talked with academics at different universities to try and bring some of that in, but it's too early at this point.
The basics is the mechanical engineers do all the fluid dynamics work. We haven't done all the aeronautics wind flow tests, but as I said before, it's actually a relatively simple design. It's a basic impulse turbine. It's like this type of turbine you would use in a gas compressor or something like that.
I hear that, but one of the challenges I have, and again, are any of you guys experts in this? Because I'm not, but I happen to have a guy on my staff.
Let me take over.
I happen to have a guy on my staff who spent some time designing wind turbines, and I showed it to him, your design, and with all due respect, he kind of tore it apart. And I can't validate his claims, but there were obvious things about the way you visualized it here. They may not be inherent to the patent, but raise big questions. The first is, why so many individual blades? They're not rotating separately from what I can see. They're just points of failure, and they're just pass-through of wind. So that's the first question I don't understand. Second, if you want this to pivot, it feels like it needs some kind of blade to drive that motion. I don't see that on here. These are problems that can be solved, but it comes back to, again, you're going after a market that's very metrics-driven. At the end of the day, this is all about metrics and power profiles, and you're showing slick renderings of something that is clearly not optimized aerodynamically. And I'm confused by how you got here. I'm not saying at the core there's not a basic idea that's good, which is these impulse turbines on a pivot, fine. But the design is not helping at all. And it's making it hard for me at this stage to see that, you know.
Yeah, I think you're not incorrect. I think we need to significantly improve our visualizations to sort of get across.
It's not a visualization issue. It is the fundamental design of what you've got and the way.
Do you argue with him? I mean, do you say?
Am I wrong? And again, I'm just telling you what my engineer told me, who spent time doing this
Not
kind of
only
design.
that, most people, before they built the model, would have had that aeronautic engineer do
You spent
a
10
lot
grand.
of that kind of testing before you built the model.
Yes, I think intentionally, I think what we've relied on is the knowledge of our mechanical engineers, which I think we need to get an aeronautic study done, and you're right. We need to prove that to you, that it does what we say it does. As far as the only thing I can offer is that when we built it and tested it, it seems to work, frankly.
But any basic mechanical engineer will tell you that multiple blades versus single blades is not an optimal design, and I'm still struggling with that. Why all these little paddles?
It's not an optimal design typically for a lift. Even for a drag, the little paddles are intended to angle each of them separately.
Okay.
Basically, what you see on the renderings is a straight design where they're all basically like flaps. The intent future is to angle each of them at anywhere between 30 to 60 degrees, which is what the
fixed angles or they have play.
Currently, it'll be a fixed angles based on the site, right? Based on the wind study for the site.
Okay. And how is the energy stored?
The energy is currently not stored. The intent is to base load. So for a typical commercial building, you've got a certain amount of base load that's on 24/7, regardless of whether people are awake using the building or not. Those base loads will range anywhere between 40 kW to 100 to 400 kW, depending on the size of the building. So the intent is to size the turbine at the base load of the building. So if your base load is 100 kW, we want to be 99 kW, just to get our utilization point to 100%. So basically, whenever we generate, you're using the power we're generating. The intent is not to supply 100% of a building's power from one of these turbines. The intent is to supply only that base load. It's to get the utilization factor up as high as possible, which is how we get the payback period.
Performance, how do you measure that relative to the cost to build it, to maintain it?
And versus solar and other options.
Dollars per installed watt. That's the metric for the industry.
But what is it?
For us, it's about $6.50. It's about twice what it needs to be. It needs to go down to 50% to about $3 per installed watt to be competitive with a typical utility rate.
And what about solar and other renewables?
To be competitive, again, $3 is the big number. Solar beats us. It's cheaper than us per installed watt at the moment. Solar, at the cheapest, you can get it for like $3.50 to $4 per watt installed. The big disadvantage of solar in most urban environments is you don't have the roof space for it. When you do have the roof space, so power density is higher for turbines in general and for ours. So I may be able to generate 10 kW in 40 square feet, whereas solar may need 400 square feet. And in New York, that extra 360 square feet of roof space has a lot of opportunity costs associated with it.
Sure.
Yeah.
What are the installers and other people you talk to say? What are the big hurdles if I'm an installer and I've already got, traditional, conventional solutions, I got solar, like why do I need the headache of what is a massively heavy item, right? Like the end of the day, installing solar has got to be easier than this because this is a hugely heavy item.
The current 1 kW model actually only weighs about 300 pounds, and it can be broken down into pieces, so the intent is to be able to take it up elevators.
Yeah, right.
Yes. The installation advantage is basically just the pre-packages, to make it into small pieces that you put together when you take it onto the roof. As far as the installers I've spoken to, the biggest hurdle is regulatory, is really getting the permits to put it up on the roof and getting the permits to feed
But once
back
those
into the
permits are
grid.
there, why are they going to push this solution versus a different solution?
Our intent is to hopefully build the reputation that everyone else hasn't built. Right? If we get the first 20, if we get the first 50 models to work and work the way they're supposed to work with high-profile customers, the intent is to get those customers to vouch for us, frankly. I mean, there's, much like with anything else in this market, someone like a GE or someone like that, someone with a lot of money to spend can come in, design around whatever patents we have, and basically crush us if they wanted to, like they could do with anyone else in any market they really wanted to focus on. The real driver initially is to build that relationship with those partners, with those clients, and to get them to vouch for us. That's really how we need to move forward. It's the only way to move into phase 2, is to get those initial clients to love us, frankly.
And what are you looking at initial product development costs?
The initial costs are going to be, over the next 6 months, we're looking for about $100,000 to $140,000. There'll be a one-time cost of about $200,000 in the next year to get it approved by the AWA and to get it UL listed.
But you can get this fully designed, manufactured, and installed for $100,000.
I can get the first 10 kW prototype fully manufactured and installed for about $20,000, which is what I'm looking to get from NYU Green Grants at the moment. And frankly, the first, biggest, most important step is to put it on a roof, because I can sit here and show you my curves all day long, and it's in a lab, until I put it on a roof and it really works, and we take measurements for 8 months, and it does what I'm saying it does. Doesn't matter.
Any assurances? I mean, if this blows off the roof, any of those components, and
No.
hits people?
The same
Yes.
as solar.
Yes, but
Well,
no
it's a bit
more.
fixed, you know?
Yes, but no more than there are with anything else. You would have to have a
I've seen
license.
so many potential moving parts.
Right.
Any other maintenance issues in terms
Yeah.
of stuff getting stuck in it, whatever, stuff coming up?
Possibly. That's
birds.
what we're hoping. Yes, and that's what we're hoping to see when we actually put it up on a roof and see what it does over 6 months. You know, will a pigeon get stuck in it? Will a rat go in it? Yes, those are potential issues because it has moving parts.
Joe, I'm looking, you showed the pie chart with 100 different, are there 100 people who are doing rooftop small
No,
turbines,
almost.
or 100 people in
No.
the wind turbine business?
The small turbine industry
Sure.
is defined as anything below 100 kW.
Yeah.
The vast majority of those people are looking for you to put up a 50 to 75-foot tower in your
Right,
suburban
so how many
house.
people have something comparable to what you have that would be?
It's in the teens. There's maybe 10 or 12 different people trying to do something similar, and frankly, no one has succeeded yet.
Are there any installation, I mean, no one succeeds, any installation of a
Yes.
small, here in the city?
Yeah, there's actually one, I don't remember the name of the company that did it, but if you go over the Queensboro Bridge, there's one in a private home. You can see it from the bridge.
Yeah, and what?
What happened?
And-
Why didn't it work?
Why did-
Does it work, does it not work?
It works. It doesn't work efficiently enough to make sense for a payback period for a homeowner.
I just realized, didn't I see something like this in the East River? They're doing this with the currents.
Yes, actually, my old firm worked on that project. Yeah, it's a tidal generation
It looked
system.
very similar.
Yeah, it's a tidal, again, those are impulse, they're simple turbines also. It's a tidal generation system though. They're buried's the wrong word, they're planted into the river. As the tide rolls in and out, it
Right.
spins the turbine and generates electricity. But yes.
How are those doing?
Pardon?
How are they doing?
I actually don't know their metrics. I don't know what they've released lately. I know it's installed and it's working, but I don't know what their numbers are.
I mean, the nature of the technology is so similar, right? It's,
Yes, I mean,
Right.
basically all these generation technologies are very similar. So I'm an electrical engineer by training. To get electricity, you're gonna have to spin something, right? That's how all of them basically work. It's just the method by which you spin that changes.
So why should we fund this before you've even put it on a roof and shown it works?
Because it could work, because we think it will work.
'cause we're nice.
Honestly, I don't have a better answer for you.
Okay.
Good answer. Not good enough to get funded, though.
Anything else?
Is your father integral to this, or just he's outside the company? It's just the two of you.
For New York, it's just the two of us, but with the work that we're doing with the prototype that's in Canada now, he's integral to that.
So how did you guys get to this? Was it that you've just been looking for a way to break into the U.S. market with this idea you've been working on with your dad for a while? Like, what's the story?
That's basically it. I met Laura Lee through this program. Actually, we met about 8 months ago, and she was looking for team members to help her get this off the ground.
I see. So he was already envisioning the urban application, but has he done anything with it in Canada?
We have the prototype that you saw earlier, and that's been out and about a little bit, being tested. It started off at the Medicine Hat College, where they tested it there and bought it outside, and they had to turn it by hand and did. Sorry.
And how did that prototype work out?
Well, that's the power curve that you see behind us. And yeah, it was a lot of trial and error. So they're currently tweaking it and putting in a better generator to do more testing, to get more numbers out of it, and then we'll go and build another prototype, and take on board those changes.
Well, Joel, I tell you, I have to buy you a beer after that, man. I mean, you just went through the absolute grilling, but you stood up to it so well. Thank you, Laurie Lee. Thank you.
Thank you. Great. We're going to take a quick 5-minute break and be back with Keen Home. again. And guys, can I have the house lights down again, please?
Alan did have to leave, yeah.
No, but he was going to give us with his phone.
Oh. Yeah, I think we'll have to do it. I did.
Okay, wonderful. So the second last team to pitch in the third and final of the three competitions that make up the Entrepreneurs Challenge for 2013. Yes, woo! and I love these guys. They've become. I have an intellectual crush on both of them. I'm not afraid to admit it.
Now's not the time to vent.
Yeah. Vent. Oh, clever, Scott. That's why they pay you the big bucks. Yeah. We've got Ryan and Naeem here from Keen Home, and they're about to present to us on the Keen Vent, which is a wirelessly networked home air vent that maximises the efficiency and comfort of a home's heating and cooling system by intelligently redirecting the central HVAC airflow. Keen vents are primarily installed in overheated or overcooled rooms and automatically open and close in response to specific details of a user's home and lifestyle. That description was about as long as Brian Cohen's book title. All right, please welcome Keen Home.
Thanks, everybody. My name's Ryan Fant. I'm Naeem Hussein, and we're the founders of Keen Home. Now, by a quick show of hands, how many of you are familiar with this product? Good, all right, so just about everybody. For those who aren't, this is a home air vent. It can be found on the floors, walls, and ceilings of 97 million homes across the United States with a central heating or cooling system, often referred to as an HVAC system.
Actually, Rob, I'm just going to stop you there.
This mic's off.
We'll find out. Just going to test that.
Test. Hey, there it is.
It is now.
Great.
Now, the introduction to this is quite important, so go again.
So, 97 million homes, floors, walls, and ceilings, right? The problem is these have been this way for the past 60 years, and they were designed based on the type of construction materials and insulation available at the time.
So I'd like to introduce you to the Joyce family. Now, the Joyces live in a 3,000 square foot single-family home in the suburbs of Chicago. Like many Americans, they are aware of their home energy footprint. The Joyces recently invested several $1,000s to improve the comfort and energy efficiency of their home. They invested in Energy Star appliances, they swapped out some of their windows with more energy efficient ones, and they even invested in a brand new central heating unit. Now, despite these investments, the Joyces still struggle with overheating and overcooling in certain rooms of their home. For example, they often complain that their master bedroom and their den are uncomfortably hot compared to other rooms of their home. In addition, their monthly energy bill is still not where they want it to be. Now, the Joyces, like the average American family, spend 50% of their home energy bill on heating and cooling, or approximately $2,000 per year. In addition, this average household has 2 to 4 rooms that are overheated or overcooled at various times. This is not only uncomfortable, but it's energy inefficient. Up until now, innovation has been focused on thermostat technology, but that is only part of the solution.
So based on these observations, we developed and tested hypotheses at homes across the country and uncovered the following key insight: that intelligently manipulating just 4 vents in an average home redirected air to rooms that were in use and effectively reduced the square footage of the home that had to be conditioned at that time. These actions shortened the runtime of HVAC systems by up to 30%.
Now, this table aggregates our studies performed in homes across the country, and it shows that by selectively opening and closing just 4 vents in an average size home, the HVAC system is reduced, runtime is reduced by up to 30%. Now, it's important to note that the cycle time remains roughly the same. The system just runs that much more efficiently. So these insights lead to our opportunity, which is to provide people with central HVAC systems with a product that intelligently redistributes airflow throughout their home in a manner that is simple to install and easy to use. So today we unveil our product, the Keen Vent.
The Keen Vent is a wirelessly networked home air vent that maximizes both the comfort and efficiency of a home's central heating or cooling system by automatically redirecting the air generated by the central HVAC unit. Essentially, we're doing for air vents what the Roomba did for vacuum cleaners by bringing easy-to-use home automation to the masses.
Now, Keen vents are placed in rooms throughout the home that are unoccupied for large portions of the day, like bedrooms, dining rooms, dens, and home offices. The average home will need just 4 Keen vents to optimize its existing HVAC system.
Now, our product is easily user installed. The user simply removes the existing vent from the duct opening and inserts the Keen vent in its place. Once the vents are installed, the user browses to our website, mykeenhome.com, to create a user account to set up their vent system. Now, while each vent can be manually programmed with any internet-enabled device, we don't anticipate our users wanting to manually program each vent. If you take a look at programmable thermostats, for instance, it's estimated that over 89% are not programmed correctly, if at all.
So that's why we've developed a lifestyle survey. Customers will complete this short questionnaire with details of their home and habits when they initially set up their user account. They'll answer questions like, what time does the first person arrive home on an average day? And what benefits of the Keen vent system would you like to emphasize in your home, ranging from maximize my comfort to maximize my efficiency? Now, these inputs will allow us to automatically program each individual vent's opening and closing schedule or smart cycle and have the whole system up and running in minutes. Now, this online account also allows us to build a long-term relationship with our customers. For example, if severe weather were forecasted for one of our customers' homes, we would send an alert to their mobile device and then recommend a one-time change to their vent schedule to counteract the effects of this severe weather. This is just one of the services that Keen Home will provide to its customers.
So who are our customers? Anyone with a home internet connection and central heating or cooling can benefit from the Keen vent system. Taking a cross-section of these populations yields at least 40 million homes. Taking a look at the U.S. home automation industry as a whole, the industry is projected to grow to $5.5 billion of revenue by 2016. 2012 saw approximately $200 million of VC inflows, and this number is also growing rapidly.
So we utilize 2 channels to bring the Keen vent to market. The first will be to sell the product directly to consumers, initially via e-commerce platforms like the Keen Home website and other appropriate online retailers. And after gaining an initial level of traction, transitioning that to sell the product through traditional retail outlets like Lowe's and Home Depot. But additionally, we're going to partner with home builders, HVAC contractors, and utility companies to sell the product to their customers with some form of subsidy. Utility companies, for instance, are actually not concerned with how much energy we consume, but when we consume it, affecting their peak load management. That's why companies like Reliant Energy in Texas and Con Edison right here in New York are aggressively partnering with hardware companies like Nest and ThinkEco that produce energy efficiency products that help them with this peak load management initiatives. So building these relationships will help Keen Home establish itself in the home automation market.
So looking at our competition, we chart it on the axes of innovation and automation. In the bottom left, you can see is a generic or standard air vent, which makes up the majority of the competitive landscape. Clearly, these are manually operated and generically styled. We see some innovation in the form of the active vent, which is essentially a remote-controlled powered air vent. Now, our product offers full automation and seamless interaction on the hardware and software side. Now, we will make the first batch of Keen vents right here in New York at a production cost of approximately $10. This includes manufacturing, assembly, packaging, and taxes. As sales volumes ramp up, we will outsource our production for an approximate 30% haircut to the production cost. Now, we're excited to introduce our disruptive sales model today, or our PSaaS model, which is Product Suite as a Service. We will essentially give our hardware away for free and charge $5 a month for our 4 Keen vent system. In addition to, and this is for the services that we will provide, such as, as Ryan spoke of, the Smart Cycle programming and management, push notifications, as well as other services that Keen Home will provide. In addition to our networked vents, we will also sell matching faceplates so a user can match the aesthetic throughout all the vents in their home. The average single-family home using our 4 Keen vent system will see monthly savings between $10 and $25 per month off their home energy bill, making this an extremely enticing value proposition.
Now, we utilize 2 different strategies to initially acquire those new customers. The first will be to target tech-savvy consumers who are early adopters of home automation technologies and willing to pay a premium for these products. We'll do this through targeted marketing efforts with tech blogs and technology conferences to specifically find these type of consumers. We're also going to roll out the Keen vent in specific geographic regions of the country based on the following criteria: the area's HVAC usage rates, their energy costs, and also the prevalence of utility companies with strong energy efficiency initiatives. So based on these criteria, we'll be rolling out the Keen vent in the Phoenix-Scottsdale area, Dallas, Chicago, and the New York City metro area.
Each one of these targeted regions has really unique criteria that make it an ideal match for the Keen vent.
So taking a quick look at our financial summary, we model our revenue ramp on comparable home automation hardware startups. Our first year sees us targeting through internet sales channel for starting in our target markets. This is financed through a friends and family round and then a seed round. Year 2 sees us transitioning to a retail distribution strategy financed by a Series A round. Business break even comes midway through year 2 at approximately 200,000 units.
So we just actually officially launched the Keen vent this week at TechCrunch's Disrupt conference here in New York. We were one of the 30 startup battlefield companies selected from over 1,000 applicable startups. As part of that campaign, we started a pre-sales in partnership with Indiegogo, the most expansive crowdfunding platform available. In just the past couple days, we've raised over $10,000 in campaign contributions, and the campaign is live right now, going through the end of the month at indiegogo.com/projects/KeenVent. So the team here to execute the Keen Home vision is Naeem, myself, and also a very trusted group of advisors. I have a background consulting in large manufacturing and distribution environments, as well as having my Six Sigma black belt. More recently, I co-founded a tech-centric waste and recycling brokerage company that focused on efficiency gains and sustainability.
Myself, I have experience doing corporate finance, corporate strategy with a large technology firm. Like Ryan, I also founded my own company. I founded a real estate investment firm that focuses on distressed opportunities.
And our advisors we've assembled to help us with all facets of the business, really including those forward-looking energy efficiency and utility partnerships as well. So you can see there are few home products we feel are as outdated and uninspiring as the home air vent.
Keen Home brings seamless automation and refreshed design to a cliched product that we feel is ripe for disruption. Thank you.
House lights up, please. Judges.
So I have a major HVAC system. It's a geothermal system. Now, I only care about the heat or air conditioning in each room when I'm there. So the idea of managing that is at that moment in time. So I'll go over to the vents, open them or close them, depending upon the distribution of the heat and the cold. So I like the idea of being able to have a controllable while I'm in it.
Sure.
Right?
We actually...
do you have that?
Yeah. Any internet-enabled device, your tablet, your smartphone.
You can pass it around there.
You can set a macro. You can automatically control it on the spot. It's really up to you. We make it seamless because we realize the majority of people...
I'm controlling it just with my phone right now, yeah.
Great.
Yep.
Cool.
Question for you guys.
We're hot.
HVAC systems.
Nice. That's just terrible.
HVAC systems. Have any of you guys ever installed one?
No.
No. Have you ever built a home and had one installed for you?
No.
All right. So I live in New York.
This is going to be good.
The other day, I woke up. Luke came over. The reason I ask is that I was fortunate. I renovated a brownstone in Brooklyn a few years back. I was fortunate at the moment to realize that because we were opening up a few different walls, there was an opportunity to put one in. And I had a certain mental model. And my mental model was your mental model. This room versus that room. Turn on here, turn off here, control temperature here, control temperature there. Turns out that's not the way the system really worked. The system worked based on zones and thermostats in particular places. And that is what I was sold. That's what the installer built and knows and maintains. I wasn't happy with it. Turns out my house is vertical and my kids' rooms were getting super hot, so I screwed around with the vents. Burnt out my unit, or part of my unit, right? The guy came back, he's like, listen, the unit works best when all the vents are open, when there's distribution.
Now, HVAC installers tell people that because they don't want people messing with too many vents. The golden rule, you can speak to an HVAC expert, is 1/3. 1/3 of your total vents, that's what we say 4 is the average amount. When more than 1/3 of your vents are closed, you have back pressure buildup, and you can burn out your fan.
Yep.
Yeah.
So the reason I'm asking you this is every time as a designer you go into a space where there's like different mental models, you see opportunity and you see risk. I'll give you a really good example, one I've been in a lot, which is the world of home entertainment. You take a TV and some peripherals, like a set-top box, and maybe an external speaker system, a DVR, and you put it all together. And there's a mental model there that you have to learn around inputs and outputs, and it's a confusing one. And similarly, the zone mental model is kind of confusing. And what I took from what you presented here is you're kind of going over the top, and you're saying to the consumer, guess what? This is now in your hands. You can shift this vent or that vent and have more control. And I'm concerned about the both mental effort for the consumer to learn your model, and the fact that it's conflicting with the model of the people they trust and the people who can maintain the system.
Well, you want to address that?
Yeah, so, it's interesting. People like Naeem and myself, we would be probably the ones who are individually have our phones out and tweaking the system. But we realize that the real potential for the market is people like my parents who just want to set it and forget it. That's why we've tried to make the system as simple as possible with that lifestyle survey. So really just installing the vent, logging onto our website, answering 12 to 15 questions about your home and your lifestyle is enough to get the system up and running to a fairly high degree of efficiency. Now, that could be tweaked, further to say the bedroom is actually 12 by 16, so that's how we're going to account for that in our algorithms. But if you just told us we're placing a vent in our spare bedroom, then we'll be able to know that, all right, during the day when they're away, we'll close that vent, and when they're home, we'll open it. So,
So I don't want to monopolize, but I have two follow-up questions about that, all right? This one's small and one's bigger. The small question is, I don't see how a survey lets you know which vent to turn on and off unless there's some mapping of vents to physical layout. Is that correct? Do I have to tell you this vent is in the living room versus this vent is in the bedroom?
You have to tell us your general building envelope, and we'll have some templates there.
So the small concern there is, again, level of complexity for the self-install. The bigger concern is that I'm going over the top to the vendor that I trust. And the vendor that I trust is the person who installs and maintains the system. And I am putting at risk that trust relationship on some level because I'm installing and placing a different model of airflow from the one that they've tuned and built for me. And again, ultimately, I don't want to know any more than I need to about this system, but the risks and the costs can be quite high for repair and maintenance. So,
we will partner with HVAC contractors to get contractor referrals. So they will be a partner of ours. We're not going to be a loggerheads with them. That doesn't make any sense, right. To do that. And honestly, we feel like the value proposition of the money saved each month will far outweigh any sort of hesitation or trepidation there.
And we're working with HVAC professionals to
well,
make
that's
sure.
why I came to that's when I'm missing the HVAC installer's voice in here. Because at the end of the day, I don't think your product's going to succeed at the scale you want other than some early adopters, unless you're engaging and activating that channel. And again, I feel like your product right now is not told sufficiently well from that perspective, your product story.
Yeah, I wish my HVAC installer could read. They're not that capable, and it's a pretty sophisticated system.
Yeah.
But even if I can operate the vents, what happens to the thermostat? Because the thermostat is still set. I still have to manage that.
Sure. I mean,
how do you bring that into the equation?
Sure. Well, so essentially what we're trying to do is add a layer of efficiency on top of the thermostat. So if you're somebody who has a Nest thermostat that's programmed and really smart and all of that, it's still saying during the day you're away, we're going to set the house to 66 degrees. You still don't need your bedroom at 66. It could be at 62, right? Or you don't need, and when you're sleeping at night, let's say you've set it to 68.
Right. You're solving one piece of the problem, not the other piece, right? There's still that weakness. So do you integrate into that at all?
A future generation of our second iteration, we want to tie into that system. Right now, essentially, what our product does is it reduces the effective square footage of your home.
Yeah, because what I ended up doing is just putting in a new thermostat in the rooms that I just needed it.
Sure.
I don't need a vent then.
Yeah.
I mean, the other thing is to consider
because it's pretty cheap to put another thermostat in and another whatever baffle that they put into my system to allow me to just do it pretty straightforward. Then I don't have to worry at all.
The majority of homes are single zoned, and they're.
Yeah, I would say that this is not a cross section of the marketplace we're trying to address.
Really. Honestly, our cross section is people who don't even understand what home automation really is, and they don't really care what it is. They want to see cost savings, and it's a simple install and a simple sort of set it and forget it.
Yeah, I grew up in the Midwest, and I'd never actually seen a home with more than one.
So cost savings. You said cost savings average of between 15 and 20?
10 and 25.
10 and 25?
Yeah. And the variability is because of,
And your cost structure, it's a monthly fee? How much is that?
$5.
$5?
That's for the average system. Each additional event that you add to that, if you have a bigger home, would be an additional
So is that for one vent or two vents?
That's for a four vent system.
Yeah. So every additional event would be an extra $1 per month.
So the savings then between, and then what else is built on top of that cost? There's a $25 installation?
There's an activation fee.
right? So what are they actually saving when you get down to it per month, the average home?
Oh, so
with
Between
your-
$5 to $15
Yeah.
a month.
You
Of
just
actual-
subtract-
That's
you just
inclusive of
subtract
your
that.
cost?
That's after their cost.
That's after
After
their
their
cost?
cost, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
just to be sure.
Yeah.
So I think you answered the question about the 4 events because you said, I guess the average home has 12 and
Sure.
the rule of the gold standard, but it sounds a little bit like an infomercial when you're putting the 4 up there. And then I think you said set it and forget it, which is
did,
like
probably.
right out of Ron Popeil. And yet I can actually see this being
Sure.
applied in an infomercial-like setting. And
Yeah.
there is, you're tapping into a huge movement of self-control and do-it-yourself and all the rest. And I just thought it was worth saying that I thought your written materials were exemplary.
Oh, thank you.
Appreciate it.
Couple more questions.
Sure.
First is I'm feeling a little market kind of contradiction that I'm struggling with, right? Because we're talking about a lot of cost saving, a lot of value-oriented conversation. Yet I kind of feel like for a couple of reasons, in terms of the number of events, in terms of the complexity of the interface, which, with all due respect, a Q&A survey, when you have to sort of map out your home or at least which event is where. I mean, it's not a set it. This set it seems to have a little bit of overhead to it, and the value proposition around energy savings seems to point to me towards larger home, more affluent market. So I'm feeling a little unclear about where you're headed there, and maybe you guys can kind of clarify. Is this like value, easy, infomercial land? Is this higher-end homeland? Where are we?
Well, it's kind of talking about, especially when we've talked
Right.
with the mentors through the program and things.
Yeah.
This market isn't actually the greatest market for our product. It's truly, single-family homes in the Midwest, in the South, out West. They're bigger and they're
They're
cheaper,
big. Yeah.
and they've got
But those
really
are
high
cheaper.
energy
Okay.
bills.
Okay.
And so, we kind of talked about those 40 million
Nothing
homes.
higher than Long Island.
Exactly.
No, that is true.
Exactly.
That is true.
I mean,
Those
we-
have the highest
number
energy.
one.
I mean, we
credits.
were
Yeah.
at TechCrunch Disrupt speaking to
Yeah.
thousands of people at a booth just a few days
Right.
ago, and people came out. I live in Florida. My home is so uncomfortable. It's so high. I live in Texas. I live in Arizona. So I mean, as Ryan said, this market is really not indicative of really the average American home. As far as both from a income level and from a house size level.
Have you guys looked at ThermoSmart?
ThermoSmart.
I haven't. I'm not familiar with ThermoSmart.
They have the same idea, but the difference is that they are providing a little bit of sensing on the heating cooling unit, so you can see how this is affecting it, and they're providing thermostat integration with wireless vent control.
Yeah, we know there's a couple actually, and there are
Yeah.
some really intricate and really, we think they're extremely impressive.
They're doing it with additional sensors, right?
Well, I'm saying that they're doing the same
Another
thing.
way.
They've got no, it's the same. It's the same. They're just adding thermostat integration, and they're also allowing you to monitor the central unit because
Now,
again, the risk factor
are they
here.
professionally installed?
Again,
And that's
I would look
one
at
of the things that we kind of feel is a challenge with home automation products is there's the complexity and then the upfront cost, right? The barrier to entry to getting into that market. That's why my parents don't have any home automation. Some of these programs that we looked at, some of the thermostats, they're $600, they're $500. The installation of this, there's a system called the EAM system, which uses balloons to inflate in the ducts to redirect air through rooms. It costs $15,000 to install.
Present to us.
No, I mean, it's
And
phenomenal.
ours,
but that's not our target.
So to be fair, I think their system's pretty simple, but I would come back to, the basic question here, which is that you guys are trying to present this as a consumer play. That's what I saw here. Consumer play, pop out your vent, pop this in, answer some questions, and you're good to go.
Well, to be fair, the partnerships, are really going to drive our sort of, incumbent status in the space. So we're going to have home builder partnerships, contractor referrals,
I would definitely
utility
try it.
partnerships.
I would definitely try it. I've got about 50 vents in my house. I would definitely try it.
So all I'm suggesting is I'm looking for that story here, and I'm looking in part because I know that those installers are nervous about their customers tweaking the system, and this is effectively tweaking the system. So I feel like you have to either talk about how you're managing that risk for the end consumer, if you're direct to consumer, or how you're partnering and offering a better value proposition. So if I'm the installer, why are you getting $5 out of the pocket of my customer every month if I'm not seeing any of that cash?
I know, there would be, yeah.
Yeah, we definitely have a referral program, especially with those HVAC installers, and that would be a huge, where we could say, listen, the first...
And how do you give them a set of white label tools that allows them to configure it for the customer, so the customer doesn't need to do this survey and this spatial mapping. I mean, again, there's an empowerment story to the, in a competitive market as a differentiated offer. There's an empowerment story to the HVAC installer.
They only gave us 10 minutes to pitch, otherwise we would have touched all that.
Partner with
I assure you we are
I think
very
it's critical
aware
because
of
I think the
We'd love to.
direct-to-consumer is only going to get you
We
Have
think
you reached out to them?
a little
I
buzz.
can help there if you haven't.
we have part of the TechCrunch Disrupt event on Monday. We were under strict NDA
Right.
for about the past
No,
6
there's no
weeks.
barriers to entry here. It's
No.
pretty straightforward. I don't know why you think it's complicated. You know, I guess it's just as simple what room you're in and what turn it on and turn it off,
You
right?
renovated by hand. You had some
no.
high level general contractors.
Here's the complexity, is that a lot of people offer a product or service and they say, configure once, you don't need to touch it again. And that sounds freaking awesome. But the configure once step, they hit it, they get halfway through it, they got to go back to their house and look at room. They got to remember which one of these they put in which room because there's some ID system to know it.
This is by design, not configure once. It's going to be really hot. It's going to be the 10 hottest days of the year. Push a button.
That's not what I heard.
Oh,
I
that's
heard
exactly what we
configure
heard.
once
That's
and leave it
exactly what we
alone.
heard.
That's what we
Push a
heard.
button and you can override the system for a day because
I
there's a
heard
weather alert.
configure once and leave it alone.
Set it and forget it.
No, he
Set
said
and forget it, I'm
he
sorry,
said
that's what I heard.
his parent, that they're, if you
I already
want
forgot.
to, you can.
Yeah, that's for people who that's the level of complexity they're comfortable
Even if you're
with.
going to do what you were going to do, there's still a setup step. And all I'm saying is that that setup step,
I mean, our
People
goal is to
usually
make that setup
underestimate.
step as seamless as possible.
simple as
Because if you have four
Honestly-
events and you say bedroom 1, bedroom 2, dining room, office, that's the mapping. That's all the mapping we need.
I answered a bunch of questions, and now how do I know that the right one is being controlled in the right? Yeah.
The answer is that's only going to solve the problem 95% of the time.
Yeah,
And 5%
exactly.
of the time, you're either going to be unhappy or you're going to make exceptions.
And that's our churn, right? I mean,
You'll live with that.
there'll be
It's a
a
40
level
million
of churn that
household market.
we're fine with.
Yeah.
you know?
So I make all those steps, and then I go back, and, well, so I make, I make all the steps.
Your
I have to
renovation's
remember
done,
which
right?
unit, which vent is in, I mean, the vents have an ID number or something. How do I know which vent's where? So I go up to the website, and it says, which
Yeah.
vent did you put in the bedroom? Do I give it a vent ID? What do I give it?
It'll automatically, it'll create its own mesh network. So we have a sort of
It's got a unique IP
illustration.
address.
Yeah, it's all
addressable.
seamless. I
Right.
mean, you're not manually.
So I put 4 events randomly in my house.
soon as
and
you
now
wake
I
them
say
up-
I'm in the bed. I'm never in my dining room except lunch. How does the system know which vent's in the dining room?
So in part one question would be on a sliding scale, when do you eat lunch or when do you eat dinner on an average day? You just give it this
How
range.
does it know which physical vent is in the dining room to control it?
When you've initially set up that account, let's say you've got 4 vents,
Yeah.
numbered 1, 2, 3, 4. You go put 1 in the bedroom, and then you say that
That's
was the
what I'm
bedroom.
talking about.
That's
That's
2,
the
and
step I'm
dining.
talking about. It's the same step when you go to the basement and you flip the circuit breakers, right? It's like 1 is bedroom, 2 is
And it would be listed right there on your phone or right there in your interface on the internet. It would as soon as you do it once, then it remembers it forever.
It's like your Sonos system. No.
I
Yeah,
understand.
it's
I'm
all
just.
I have Sonos. I love it.
Yeah.
It would be very helpful for me to see you guys prototype how you make the interface simple.
Sure.
Because that kind of spatial mapping to logical mapping, and then I go back and it tests them. How do I know that it got it
Are
right?
you going to give us
Do you-
some free consulting to work with us with that? We'd
Are-
love to,
are
we'd
you-
love to
are
work
you-
with you.
Is this a one-trick pony business?
No.
No, I mean, part of it is that's really why we've built a model around a service to build that long-term relationship with the customers. You know, the home automation industry, 6
But
months
what's
from now.
next?
I mean, our goal is to
Because this could be copied pretty fast.
Sure, you're right.
You said you had some patents, right?
Yeah, we
What are
filed
you
provisional
patenting?
patents on
On what?
the mesh network, the communication between the vents, and the software that then controls them.
Okay.
But what's next?
It's really to find other avenues in the household to disrupt and to do it in a manner that makes
But
it
what's
accessible.
next?
Lighting, alarm.
So
Well, things like lighting have been done, locks, those things are all being done. So I think it's
we're looking into some home fragrance type of stuff, home fragrance aerosol. I mean, the solutions right now are Febreze and plugins. So that's
That's
a
all
huge
pollution.
That's a huge there's a huge opportunity there that we're looking into.
I mean, one of the things that we really found exciting about being at TechCrunch on Monday was seeing all these new home automation things that are rolling out. 3 months from now, we could say, oh, here's kind of what our plan is, but without focusing on this, and then it doesn't matter 3 months from now that the industry is going to keep evolving at such a rapid pace that it's taking that step back and saying, all right, what hasn't been disrupted for a very long time? And that's really where the genesis, of this idea came from.
Cool. All right. Excellent.
All right, guys. Thank you very much. Well done.
I like
Hey, thanks.
Okay, short transition,
know,
then we're
are
going
you
to be
ready
back
to
with our
accept?
final presenter, Weespring.
There's no conspiracy behind the way to hide space when life is a two-way street. And I think I'm ready to let you get under my skin. I can't make you fall for me. It's kind of free, it's magical. Swims like a dolphin, fresh like a turtle. His attitude is mystical. Half a reason, half a rebel. He's very supernatural, tough as an antelope, yet sentimental. I think I love him like I never loved before, maybe too much.
Okay, everyone, let's get started again. If you could find your seats, please. I've got the distinct pleasure now of introducing our final finalist for the entire Entrepreneurs Challenge competition 2013. It is hard to go last, so I want to give these guys a big round of applause. Weespring.
I'm Allie Downey, and I'm the CEO and founder of Weespring. And I'm here to tell you how, in just a few short months, we've collected 20,000 product ratings and how we're changing the way parents shop online. The first time I walked into a Babies R Us, I literally burst into tears. I looked out at the sea of products I knew nothing about and saw a metaphor for how unprepared I was to be a parent. So I got home and I typed car seats into Amazon.com. And this is what I saw. I didn't know how to choose between 3 car seats, never mind 392,000. So I went where I should have gone from the very beginning, my friends. When you're making choices for your child, what matters to you is what someone who's been through it, who you trust, tells you. It's about relying on the people who know best and the people who know you best. These conversations are happening offline, but they're really not happening in any central place right now on the internet. So we built Weespring. If I had had Weespring when I was pregnant, I would have clicked and joined through Facebook, gone to car seats, and seen the one that my friends thought was best, and then been able to read what they said. 25% of the users on our site are sharing content right now, and they're rating an average of 15 products. They're doing it because they want to help their friends. And that's how we've gotten to 20,000 ratings in just 4 months. No one else in this space is understanding this. They don't get it. On these products today, we have more ratings than Diapers.com, Bye Bye Baby, and Babies R Us combined. 63% of moms ask another mom before they make a purchase. We are the easiest place to do that. We right now are relying on affiliate marketing and gift registry, but that is just the beginning. We see opportunities in the resale market, e-commerce, advertising, and brand partnerships. Having a baby is one of the few times when you change brand loyalty over the course of your entire life. And it's a moment that brands really want to capture. $17 billion is spent every year in the US on baby products, and we're already organically growing to toys. Everything on Weespring has been rated by one of our users. We're 100% user curated, and we're seeing them over the past few months really push us into toys. So we will go where our users are going. I'm going to turn it over to my co-founder, Melissa, who'll tell you more.
Thanks, Allie. Weespring is already partnering with brands and mommy groups, locally and nationally, who see us as a platform for their biggest fans to tell their friends why they love their products. As an example, there is a truckload of Bare Fruits healthy snacks being sent to us from California right now because the CEO of this company wants to get his products in front of Weespring users. In other words, we're not relying on virality alone to grow our user base. And as Weespring continues to grow, the value we add to these brands and to these groups will increase exponentially. We have an all-star group of advisors who have built top brands who are helping us build Weespring, and they believe in the team that we have assembled. Our founding team is comprised of an unparalleled community manager and passionate leader, an accomplished engineer, and 2 digital marketing strategists with a proven track record. Over the last few weeks, we've made 3 key hires with robust design, research, and product development experience. In just a few short months, we've built a team. We've designed and launched a product. We've gotten into and started Techstars. We've raised $200,000, and we've collected over 20,000 product reviews. And why is that? It's your friends and your family. It's who you trust the most, and it's why Weespring is winning. We have a live site. We're already competing with the biggest brands in the space, and we are rapidly becoming the trusted resource for new and expecting parents. I'm Melissa, and this is Weespring.
Oh, a lot of friends here.
Yeah, can we have the house lights up a bit? Good tip for anyone in the audience too. It's always a good idea to say thank you at the end. And people know you're finished.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So 20 minutes to interact with the judges. Judges, what do you think? Obviously you were hungry. We're not feeding you.
I'm just, do I rate this on here, or where do I rate it?
On Weespring,
Can men rate, or just women?
Of course they can.
10% of our users are men.
All right, thank you. How are Go ahead.
How are you different from Leela.com?
So Leela.com, my understanding of it is they have profiles of people that could be like you that you can then relate to and find sort of, make decisions based on those profiles. This is really about friends and the people that you trust. And so, we're really relying on the social network. We're integrated through Facebook Connect, and you can see what your friends that are associated with you from different parts in your life or people that live near you, what they think and what they recommend on these products that you're considering.
And is the primary model affiliate sales?
Well, that's the initial. That's to maintain our, as we grow, so we can get the numbers, so we can go into those other 3-4 verticals that we talked about.
You guys might just want to introduce yourselves.
Sorry, I'm Jack, COO of Weespring.
I'm Madeline, CTO of Weespring.
Who's back at the shop?
This is
We're
important.
taking a short breakout.
Now, how are the balances between the ratings? Somebody may like something or not like something. How do you calculate out the final analysis?
So the vast majority are people who've either loved or have an item. We are staying away from stars. We feel like it's really arbitrary. So we invite users to share that they love, have, regret, or want something. About 13% of the ratings are want right now. 80%, 80% are have or love, and a smaller sliver, 7%, are regret. And that's actually been really appealing to the brands that we're working with, because there aren't trolls who are going on and trashing products, because there is that Facebook integrity.
So is there a site like this that was designed for recalls? Because that was as critical to get out the message.
Yep.
Right? Is that, I guess, I mean, that gives you great strength because you've got the company in the
Yes.
database of the products, right?
So we send emails to our users who've rated a product if it's been recalled.
And one of the things, sorry, just to answer the rest of that question, one of the things that we have is when you come to our landing page, when you log in, there's the WeRank, or the Weespring Top 40. So we have an algorithm that we've created that kind of takes into account the overall ratings that a product has, as well as the percent loves versus the other ratings, so that we can show a top 40 list for people, just if they're curious kind of how ratings align against one another. And on every page of our site, if you're looking at strollers, if you're looking at car seats, whatever you're looking at, you can sort the reviews by that same algorithm in order to see things in that way.
How much is it is really descriptions and discussions?
You mean comments?
Yes.
So about 15% of our users are commenting right now, but that's we plan to add much more user-to-user activity. This is an MVP beta, and those are many of the things we're thinking about are around more connectivity.
And how many users do you have? You keep talking 20,000 reviews. How many users have you got?
It's about 4,000 right now.
4,200 or so.
Okay.
Yep.
And how are you mapping that user journey, right? People come in, first-time parents, they have urgency,
Yep.
they're unsure, they don't necessarily have a community of parents around them, maybe they do.
Yep.
And they're making certain choices and feels very urgent. As a parent, you don't stay in that stage forever. So how are you looking at that journey? How do you manage that transition for people and reach the next? Can you talk to me about that life cycle a little bit?
Absolutely. So in thinking about the actual journey within the site, people are dropped into the Weespring Top 40. What we hear from a lot of our users is that they see that list and immediately it validates the site for them because they recognize all the products. I sit in meetings with mentors and their parents, and they look up at it and say, I have that, and that. And that's kind of the experience that our users are having. But to answer your question more broadly about how people are moving through the life cycle, they come to us when they're expecting because they have no idea where to begin. And they go and they look, if their friends are on the site, they see the products that they've loved and the products they say they absolutely regretted. But if you don't have friends on the site when you first join, we have featured parents who give you a little bit of a roadmap. So we reached out to all of the users who had rated more than 50 products. We invited them to engage a little bit more deeply, provide more robust comments, add a bio to the site. So there isn't that first user problem. There's a map there.
And then extending on to that just a little bit is that, as Ali sort of mentioned during the presentation, we allow all of the ratings that are on our site are user-generated. All of the products that are there are user-generated. So every product that's on the site, at least one user has suggested, added, and rated. And so what we saw was we started really with some of the basics for baby, right? What are the things you need when you're expecting? And we're finding that our users are adding products like food and toys and other things that they're talking about or they want to share with their friends. And so it's really extending into a later part of the child life cycle beyond, when a baby's born, what you need. And so, toys, birthday gifts, all of that is definitely a natural next step that can extend, at least to sort of 5-ish. And there's so many other things that, we could see it expanding into depending on how, our users continue to engage with the site.
Having gone to a bunch of daddy and me's, not just mommy and me's.
Yeah.
It's a lot of word of mouth.
Mm-hmm.
So we all hang out and we talk about what we're using, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
How does that conflict or contrast with a site that provides sort of a broader context of input?
So I would say I actually had twins last summer, and I must have received 10 to 15 Word documents and Excel spreadsheets of all the things that I had to get. And I had absolutely no idea how to look at all of that information. If anything, it was more overwhelming. And since then, again, people are posting all the time on Facebook. What diaper cream do you use? What high chair should I get? We actually could sort of joke around that we're going to help take those conversations off Facebook for everybody else. But so that's an added plus for anybody. But so the idea really is that we would be able to organize this information for you. We have people, we can see when people are rating a lot of products because obviously we're monitoring what people are doing very closely. And I'll watch somebody who's adding products and rating products for 3 hours at a time, and I'll reach out to them. I actually manage our community, and so I'll reach out to them and say, hey, glad you joined. Tell me a little bit about why you're rating some products. I see you've been on there for a while, and they'll say, I get asked over and over again from friends what I need, and I don't want to keep having to send those emails and have that same conversation. So as Ali sort of mentioned, a lot of this is happening offline. We know people are having these conversations, and we're really trying to create a way for them to have them online and to organize all of this information more effectively.
I just want to follow. Can you do it geographically, where people, they're from the same community?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely. So we're getting people to log in through Facebook, so we're getting their hometown and where they're currently living. We also only ask 2 questions in the onboarding process, in addition to how old your child is, and it's how do you get around, because that's so important to so many of the product decisions you're making. If you're on the subway all the time, you're getting a totally different stroller than you are if you're driving a car. And what's your general philosophy on baby products on a scale from minimalist to fully loaded? Because that was the other thing I really wanted to know as a parent. Is this someone who's being really choosy about stuff, or do they have a garage full of baby stuff?
And we also know if you have multiples, for example, because again, for me, that's a really important thing, that there's a lot of product decisions that you make that are different if you have more than one kid.
So I wanted to browse your site to kind of demo it a little bit. I was unable to because of the Facebook login. Didn't really feel like I knew that, that was so there was no easy way for me to kind of get a feel for it.
We are taking that down.
But I had a question. There's a question I had that I wanted to resolve. I couldn't, and maybe you can explain it to me. First, the visuals you showed here, are those actually from the site, or are those renderings?
Those are actually from the site.
Actually from the site. So if I want to add a product,
Yes.
all right, and let's say I have a stroller in my basement. Let's say it's a McLaren stroller. It's a particular model.
I can show you.
How do I add it?
So
how do you pull in those pretty pictures that you showed in those renderings, all that information?
Yeah.
How are you doing that? What does that matching process look like?
Do you want me to talk about
Yeah,
it?
take
Okay.
it.
So
This is your baby.
originally, I was manually doing all of it. So that was really fun. And I decided that no longer made any sense. So we're actually connected through Amazon's API. And so the way that it works, a very large majority of these products are on Amazon. And so if you're looking to add a product that's on Amazon, we have a process where you basically start typing in the name of the product. So you type in McLaren stroller, and you will get the top 10 results that come up. As you type more, it gets smarter. Immediately you see the product, you see the 4 choices: love, regret, have, want. You have a comment box, you pick what category it goes under, and it's 30
And what
seconds.
about non-Amazon products?
So if it's a non-Amazon product, you just need to provide the URL where the products can be found, and add a comment, add a rating. That still is going through a manual process to us, because right now, other than Amazon, the only other company that we're connected to on the site is the Honest Company. I don't know if you know it. It's a sort of eco-friendly organic diaper company. And the reason was we were getting so many recommendations for those products. So we reached out to that company and said, hey, our users really want to tell their friends about your products. And so we have an affiliate revenue model going with them as well.
And so how are you ensuring that these links stay live, active, relevant, et cetera, as this product landscape expands, I'm sorry?
They're updated hourly, the products.
Oh, do you mean just as evolves, as products evolve?
Well, I find a product online. Let's say I bought some little, like a bespoke crib that's just really sweet, and it's not on Amazon, right? And the only place I can find it written about online is, let's say, a baby review site or a mommy review site, and I want to recommend it. So I put the URL of that site in with my little write-up. You guys authenticating, making sure that URL is active 6 months later, the product is still there, the images. How much are you guys building a catalog? How much is your business going to be about building that catalog versus not?
Yeah. So one thing that I would say dealing with all the products is that our sort of initial premise, and I think we've held to this pretty closely, is really to be about the essentials, right? So we really want to be about the essentials of what you need. We don't want to show you the 10 different flavors of a swaddle blanket that you can have, or the 6 count and the 12 count of the bottles you can buy. And we really want the things that people are recommending. And so we haven't really been incorporating those one-off products quite as much right now. We're monitoring them. Every time a user recommends one, I email with them personally. Right now, I can do that. Hopefully when we have millions of users, that will change. We'll get more automated. But that's kind of how we're handling it now. And if we see a repetitive need, then we'll handle it like we did for Honest Company.
All right, so help me. I mean, I married my trophy wife first, so I'm not going to do this again. Just, and because we have to make a decision here, convince us that this is not a filled marketplace, that from a competitive landscape, that you're pretty much, on your own here in the leadership position.
Yeah. So we're sitting at the intersection of social and e-commerce. And there are other corollaries that are doing that as well, but no one's really focused on baby right now. There are a couple others who started around the same time as us or maybe a little bit afterward, but it's like a sucking vacuum, and that's why we started building this. I went to Melissa when she was on bed rest with pregnancy, and Jack and I went together and said, we're thinking about this. What do you think is a potential customer? And she just kept saying, I can't believe this doesn't exist already. I can't believe this doesn't exist already. And when she realized it didn't exist already and she wanted it really badly, she decided that she was going to join the team.
And the thing that I would say too is just thinking about the baby landscape, there's a lot of things out there that talk about clothes. We're really not focused on clothes. We talk a little bit about brands because we think that, there are clothing brand recommendations that we think are important, but really we focused on products. And that's very different from a lot of the sites out there. So the sites that are competing in the baby space, which are a lot of the Circle of Moms, Baby Center, a lot of the sites that you might...
It includes food.
Our site?
Food, yeah.
Some food, yeah, it does include the big brands in food that our users have recommended. And
actually, I'll interrupt for
Yeah, go
1 second there. We didn't expect it to, but Plum Organics and Happy Baby are in the top 10 products on the site.
Right.
And they're actually both
saw
really
Happy
excited
Baby,
about it.
Yeah. And they're actually, we had a conversation with Plum, and their first question to us on the call was, why does Happy Baby have 2 products in your top 40 and we only have 1?
Right.
And we
It's a
said,
rating
that's
thing,
what our users added. So it's, it's already competition for them, and they want to figure out, manufacturers are approaching us and saying, how can we get on your site? And we say, you got to tell your users, your biggest fans to get those products.
Are you going to provide any editorial, any content?
We're starting to move in that direction, and we're actually relying heavily on our featured parents right now. So we've got a blog going. We invite them to guest blog. It's actually great for us because then they blast it out to their own social network.
Right.
And we've been talking about what our editorial voice is and how we incorporate it more.
Yeah, one of the things we've been working on, so a big part of why the site was started was we started to think about all the questions that we had. What do you do when a baby's sick? What do you do when your baby won't sleep through the night? And the answer to all those questions was products. So if your kid's not sleeping through the night, what do? You watch the Happiest Baby on the Block DVD. You use a Velcro swaddle. You use the baby sleep sheet. They're all product-related answers. And we know things that people love are lists. So we emailed, as an example, all of our featured parents, and we asked them to answer a bunch of questions. What do you do when you travel for the first time with your kid? What do you do when you go to the in-laws' house? And every answer was a set of products. So one thing that we're starting to work on is creating lists where we may have our own curated list that we put forth as Weespring, and let every user, if they want, create their version of that list that they can share with their friends. It can live on their Weespring profile, but they can share it via Twitter, Facebook, any form of social media they want. They can use our list as a starting point or create their own.
And there's nobody like a new parent to want to trumpet the things that they figured out.
Completely get the value proposition to the new parent. Crowdsource, people you trust at this critical life juncture, thirsty for knowledge and information. How do you make money?
Yep.
Julia.
Jack, can
Sure.
you take that?
Jack, you want to take that?
Yeah. Losing the clicker
Did
here.
you lose the clicker?
Yeah. There we go. So we have a couple of, let's see. So we're starting, we've modeled this out just purely on the affiliate model basis. And you look at the average transaction value of $100, which we got from a retailer in this space focused on gear, and they do an average basket of $100. We get through Amazon $8.50 from that. Our cost of acquisition right now is about $3, and we have an average gross margin of $5.50. So per user, we're getting $5.50. We realize that our cost of acquisition is going to increase, but while we do that, we'll be moving into gift registry, which will allow for bigger baskets and bigger average baskets for each user. And we'll get a gross margin of about $14. That is designed to support us as we grow, so that we can get a critical mass of users, so that we can go into consumer-to-consumer sales, advertising, brand partnerships, and all the other larger strategic moves that would.
And you got about 4,000 users now.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't consider that critical mass at
Absolutely.
this stage.
No,
So wouldn't,
certainly
if
not.
you have a false negative, it wouldn't be the end of the day. But what are you seeing today? What kind of purchase behavior are you seeing right now?
Well, we haven't set up the checkout functionality. So, we see people who can click on a link and they can go to Amazon, but it's not part of our experience. So it's de minimis. It's not. We're not. We're
And the
focusing on
affiliate
user
model's
engagement.
not perfect, right? There's
Right.
there's 100 different ways they
What-
could
what is
not
that?
end up coming through that channel.
What does de minimis mean?
Less than $1,000 over, the last year or since we started this.
Right, so are you going to end up developing a brand like JD Power?
Well,
Yes.
Consumer
Yes.
Reports is an idea,
Yeah. So we can provide an affirmation to these brands that this is something that parents put in there, that this was in the Weespring top 10 for 6 months.
Are you familiar with Giggles?
Yes.
Yeah.
Because they're trying to effectively create a similar sense and are going in this direction.
The sense that I get from Giggle, but I mean, I'm sure they're evolving all the time, is they have sort of like a more, they're curating on their site what they view as the top products and have sort of a higher end set of products that they're selling, and they're providing a lot of editorial content around. So we've talked to them because we definitely see them as one of the players in the space. I haven't seen a ton from them in terms of social and reviews in that way, but it could
They
be a
actually
direction.
don't have any reviews on the site. So Giggle is about their editorial voice. You go into Giggle, it's a really nice experience. You see things that Ali Wing has selected. You can go on their site, and it's, again, a good experience, but you can't find the Graco My Little Lamb swing there because it's not on their editorial list.
Do you have any financial slides that show you are?
Yeah, we have a year-over-year growth. We expect to have 70,000 users about a year from now, 350,000 users 2 years from now, and 1 million users after that. That previous slide I told you was about paying customers. So right now, about 27% of our users are expecting new parents. So if you average out the gross margin on those numbers, you get, these are our annual.
But this is
growth.
just affiliate, and we see so many other paths. So for someone like eBay, we are an inventory list of 20,000 products that people aren't going to use anymore within 3 years, and they've reached out to us for that reason.
Two different teams.
Two different teams.
have reached out to us, and we're not so big right now. And
So your sales in 3 years on 1 million users is 1.65. Am I missing something?
On
Yeah.
straight affiliate.
Straight
And
affiliate.
straight
Assuming
affiliate,
we don't
that's
do
no
anything
gift
else.
registry. That's just if we were to build a checkout on top of what we've got right now.
And we know that affiliate is a small slice of the pie, but it gets us.
it was really proof
gets
of
us
concept
profitable.
for us to see if it worked, to see if we could build the community. And once the community is there, there's a tremendous amount of other things that, whether it's advertising, tangential services. So there's a big opportunity potentially if we have a huge community. There's all these services. There was a huge article not too long ago about the huge market of services, all the schools and the preschools and classes that people are taking, and all of the things that are tangential to products.
So then
that
where is
could be
your
advertised.
financials that show you're going to make money?
Do you have a slide on that?
Well, we've done the financials out for the affiliate.
This is telling us
Yeah.
how much money you're getting in. But
Well, it's
where are
really
the financials
it's
that tell us if you're going to make money?
until we can test those strategies with the consumer to consumer and affiliate and advertising. This is.
I've just rarely seen a slide like this that doesn't at least give a scenario of some level of expectation of reaching some perhaps profitability on your expenses.
So this does bring us to profitability. Just doing straight affiliate, our burn rate's $50,000 a month. So affiliate is absolutely minimal. We can stay with the current team and get ourselves there. We really believe that. It's the adding a secondary market, working on the brand partnerships, and advertising that's going to require us to really push up the team.
Do you have the numbers that could show us that?
We haven't run those numbers yet because we're still just in the early stages of exploring what those different scenarios look like.
And the ratio of 70,000 to 21,000, how are you getting from the total users to the number of paying customers?
That's just saying the number of brand. Right now we have about between 25 and 30% of our users are first-time expecting parents. So
Okay.
we figured that was a good base to start with.
So you're assuming all those people do one transaction a year with you?
One of the
equivalent of
$100
$100 transaction a year for every single one of those
Yeah.
users.
So this doesn't count
That's your
the
math.
Yeah, this doesn't count the people who come back 3 or 4 times. This doesn't count the gift registries.
Yeah, I mean, we're in month 4 of being live. There's a lot that we have to figure out, but what we do know is that our users really love the site. It's why they're rating an average of 15 products. We have users who rated 150 products, and they're coming back, and they're engaging, and they're telling their friends.
And people are telling us they've never rated products anywhere else. So we know that they're looking for a place to share this information, and they're enjoying and really finding that this community is something different for them. And, you know, we want to see where it can go. And we believe it has a lot of potential.
And what are the demographics of your users today?
They're affluent urban professionals. So they're concentrated in Boston, New York, Chicago, San Francisco, and LA.
A lot of the big cities. Yeah.
But, you know, Melissa talks to people in Minnesota and Kansas.
They're all over, and they want to talk, and they want to tell everybody what they think.
Babies in Minnesota?
Yes, they
A
do
couple.
have babies in
A couple.
Minnesota.
Stranger things have happened.
Yeah. You know, one other thing to point out is that the top-rated stroller on our site is an $800 stroller. You go to Amazon, the top-rated stroller is like, you know, $69.99. And actually, on that stroller, the Up a Baby Vista, we have more ratings than Amazon. So people have asked me, how are you going to compete with Amazon on ratings? Our users love to share. They're coming to our site to share.
And you're not competing. They're going to be your sole source of income for a little while.
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
Fair enough.
Great. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.